Good morning, everyone. Happy Saturday. We have a very rainy, crappy day going on. So I figured I'd come join you all live here. Hey, Chris, the jerks are in the house. Hello, Jeep Girl, TJ, Nico, Night Stalker, Eliza, Julie's, Lori, thank you, Jennifer, Mark W, Lana K, Grandma Sherry. Hello, everybody. Caroline, generally Jenny. It's good to see all of you. I can't believe we are officially in spring and some places are getting snow. It is literally crazy. Grab a coffee and a snack, get ready for the best Saturday morning entertainment out there. Oh, I wish. It literally is, Lana K. Mo money, mo problems. Exactly what it is. But I'm not here to acknowledge that. That is what they want is acknowledgement. I stand by what I said. If you see streams or videos that violate TOS or somebody's personal privacy, I hope you do your due diligence. In the meantime, we have serious things to do, and my time is precious. I don't have time to sit online for 20 hours a day. But what the jerks did a fantastic job last night, and I was mind blown by all of it. It was despicable is what it was. I don't even know if there's like proper words to put into what it was. Um, Good morning, Patty, Lori, Kelsbells. Hello, Winnie, Michael. 23 degrees and snowy. That's insane. How you doing, Doohickey? Fixing the snap. Jason. But yeah, so this information, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. Um, what do you even do with that? Like, how do you even get to a place where this is what you do? We know there are people that will go to any length, rather it be unblurring a blurred image of a deceased child, clickbait titles, or even the psychopaths that try to get recognition by exploiting people's personal business and, stream it for 20 plus hours. People will go to all types of lengths on here to be seen. And, but this has to, I don't know, take the cake, right? Because this was in the early stages. So for those of you who are unaware, in the early stages of the Summer Wells tragedy, quite frankly. That's right, Lenny. We had somebody come on my stream the other day under a deep fake. Um, but these were the early stages. And I remember at the time, a lot of people were disgusted at the idea that a professional who is meant to protect the safety of children would even be on YouTube spreading this type of, quite frankly, disgusting behavior, or I'm sorry, information about minor children. I think one thing people seem to forget is that these kids will one day come across these type of videos. They will one day see and hear these things that were stated. So when you do things like this, you're affecting way more than I think these creators even. Maybe some of them do know. Maybe some of them are very well aware of what they're doing, but I like to believe they're not. I like to believe they have no idea. But in this case, this creator has done it time and time again, from finding alleged bones, um, right down to dating somebody she named a suspect, right? So I know we don't hold certain people to high regards, and rather this is expected behavior of them or not, uh, they should be held accountable for it. So the jerks did a fantastic job, and they have discovered that if you recall, if you remember the early days of Summer Wells, when Ziggy held a panel guest that had claimed to have insider source to the foster parents of Summer Wells' brothers. Put a one in the chat if you remember that. Hey, Cray Cray. I'm curious how many people remember. Phones, and credit card loans. It's actually hysterical. Oh, that is funny. That's a good one. A lot of ones. So a lot of you remember that. And I know for me, a lot of people they dislike the Wells, right? And I get it. I mean, I'm not naive to why they have the reputation they have, or the parenting judgment that they do. But it was kind of like this took the match and lit the pitchforks, if you will, because the information was so gross that, if true, it was like, oh my goodness, these poor kids, what they were going through. And, so it made the pitchforks stronger. It gave people a reason to go harder at the parents. You weren't here. We were shocked when we came across Nature Lovers video that they had recently uploaded, and that voice was a little. See, I don't know. I don't know her. I don't know Lolita. I'm not familiar with her voice, but I know you ladies enough to know that if you were saying this is her, and then just the obvious comparisons we were given, there's no way to deny that it is her. Hey, New Jersey Robin. Hey, Irish Jesse. Like or dislike anyone that was wrong, what was done is said. Absolutely. Again, we're talking about a missing child in the early stages. And it sent everybody into a non-existent rabbit hole that was created by two people. How do you do that? How do you, do you have no conscience? How do you do that? Then again, look at people on YouTube. But do I really have to ask if they have a conscience, So this is what we're here about today. This is what it should have always been about. It should have been about Summer Wells, a 5-year-old little girl that vanished one day. And here we are in 2024, and we still don't know what happened to Summer. And in that time, there are people that have taken to YouTube to create their fantasies, their fake stories. We got the psychics and the foster parents and the neighbors, and everybody's coming out of the boondocks, right? Everybody knows something, but yet we still know nothing about Summer. Here's Summer. She's a 5-year-old female. She's white, blonde hair, blue eyes. She's about 3 inches tall. I'm sorry, 3 feet tall, 3 inches, and 40 pounds. She's missing from Rogersville, Tennessee, on June 15th of 2021. We still don't have answers, but we don't have to fabricate them. Good morning, Penny. I like your new avatar. As soon as these creators take a bit of the money, they could make no holds. But Burnt Popcorn, I mean, this was, they got together and fabricated an entire story. I mean, you have to be some sort of, I say this often when it comes to somebody else out here that claims to be an advocate for the missing, how they just come up with the most ridiculously disgusting stories, mainly revolving children. And it's like, how do you even think that way? How do you even come to fabricate such things? What does that say about you? It's all about supply and demand. Unfortunately, you watch CM do it, treated him like a freaking hero in a community, embraced Chase, whatever his name is. Whatever they thought they were going to accomplish, they might have at the time, but that was so wrong. This is still about a missing child and her siblings, right? It's hard to understand. It's hard to even put into words. Now, I understand Siggy is claiming that she had no idea. I had no idea. I thought she was a real person. I didn't realize that was somebody who was my friend at the time and I've held conversations with. And no, how could I know? But there are people that are strongly disagreeing. The time everybody was in those chats listening, talking, nobody was calling it out. There were some people calling it out. You know what I mean? Nobody saw anything wrong with that. People were reviewing it, all kinds of stuff. Yeah. There was a few, a handful of creators who did call it out, but I understand what you're saying. Not enough. More people took to repeat the information for these freaking shit shows 1,000 times. Lana, it's so funny you say that because I say the same thing. Rather you were hate watching or, whatever, you were encouraging the behavior because a lot of these people are fed off numbers, right? And when they start getting numbers they've never seen before, they will go to any length to keep those numbers going. That is what we've witnessed time and time again on YouTube. She was starting on YouTube, still no excuse. Her attentions coming in were not good. If you look back, she explained a lot. I feel embarrassed I supported her for a while. See, and I often give the excuse for like when you're new on YouTube, but when it comes to this, when it comes to fabricating an entire conversation around the alleged abuse of children, I don't think there's much to be forgiven about that. And I would love, and then I heard it was stated that she's not going to respond, that the jerks don't deserve a response. This is bigger than the jerks. With utmost respect, adore you ladies. But this is bigger than the jerks. You owe the entire community, the entire Summer Wells community, an explanation. You owe them an apology. This isn't just about the jerks. They didn't do this for, just petty little personal vendettas. They did it because it's a serious thing that took place. Chase up. People thought I was Trixie when I first started my channel. Oof. That's what I'm saying. It's way bigger than us. Not about us. Not about personal dislike. And it's not, this isn't one of those stupid little drama things. This is serious. So much deception by a few. Summer and her brother should be respected. They have rights. What has come out is soul destroying. Siggy, yeah, put money for these babies. And then like I said, to take the stance of, well, I don't know any answers, not even going to acknowledge it, not worth an acknowledgement. Yes, it is. Hey, Nana for life. And I'm curious how others feel about it. I'm curious how people who also cover Summer, who are in the Summer Wells community, I'm curious as to how they feel about this information coming out. Are they angry? Are they, not surprised? Are they okay with it? Are they forgiven? Do they just not care? Did they all get content out of it? So it's kind of whatever type of thing. I don't know. I would love to hear from a few of them. You're welcome to come up on panel today if you like. See, New Jersey Robin, there's always been this stance when it came to the Wells that they're beneath, right? That they're beneath everybody, that because they're, a poorer family, or because of their lifestyles, or because of their criminal histories, or lack of parenting and supervising of their children, that they're beneath. Yay! Not driving. These two women made up these gross allegations and let them continue for years. I don't understand what the fuck happened with that situation. I was always right. See, Tracy, I know. That's what I'm saying. There are a few creators that were always grossed out by it. Long story short, Tracy, it was all fabricated by Ziggy and a friend at the time. And the person who went up claiming to be an insider source was actually Ziggy's friend. That's exactly what I said. It kind of lit the flames on the pitchforks. I get it, Nana. I get it. Kirk, yeah, that's for sure. Everything. She went up on that hill and spent time with them. Right. And that's the other thing, right? She had no problem going to spend the time with them and getting a puppy from them. And it's kind of like the way Cher would do. Cher would befriend them and then she would trash them, and then befriend them and trash them. I get that, Susan. And you know what? I don't dislike Ziggy, but I do dislike this situation strongly. BK, Sharon, Ziggy participating, accusing the older Wild Boys of SA, and they ran with it. Oh my goodness. Have never. I know, Night Stalker. It's like a magnet for the mentally unwell. It was so early on and helped the route. That's exactly what I'm saying. It was such in the beginning stages that those allegations led the way for many of these other channels, and they kind of started off the race, if you will. Good morning, Copa. Thank you for the long story short, because I was kind of lost. That's pretty much what happened. The insider, and I caught something, and I don't know if any of you caught this, but when she first went up, she stated that she's friends of the friend whose child knows this personal information. Hold on one second. Sorry, we got some teenagers. We officially started summer break, so Crappy start to our summer break by being rainy. Spring. My goodness, spring. I'm jumping ahead, folks. Just take me to summer. We officially started spring break. So so do we have proof that he was aware of it? So this is what I'm gathering, Lana K, and I'm sure soup will come up and explain further. But at that time, Lolita was the top mod and a friend of Ziggy's. She was trying to help Ziggy in her personal life do things. So when you come to the fact that she's up on this panel where they're not speaking as if they're strangers, and it's one of those things, like, you had to have known the voice. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's no way she didn't know the voice. You know what? The story of Ogden was not what she, Lolita, stated in the beginning. You know what? Good point, West Coast Sunsets. How would we know? How would we know? Hey, Kraken. So here is the soup. Let me fix my when a guest comes up camera slot thingy. I'm a stingy bus driver. I'm sorry. Give me 1 second. And I guess, like I said, for me, it's the fact that Ziggy's kind of taking this approach of like, well, I don't owe an answer. I don't know, Ziggy. You kind of do. I mean, of course, you're not obligated, but it's the right thing to do. Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning to you.
I just peeped the kitty at the bottom. That is so cute.
Thank you. It's our emotional support animal.
It's definitely keeping me entertained watching. Oh, goodness. Yeah, I'm glad you're live this morning. I'm glad you do morning lives because that's when I'm more active. Everybody always does those 10 o'clock lives. I'm like, is there anybody out here going to do a morning one? So I'm
See,
glad you.
sometimes I feel the opposite. I feel like everybody's live in the morning and that I'm. So I'm
Yeah,
glad. I'm glad that you don't see that point of view.
yeah, I like that you feel that time slot.
Thank you. See,
Yeah.
so Sarah Me saying she absolutely knew she was helping Siggy get a new place to live. I was a viewer of Siggy back then. Shame on me. Lady CG, Lolita, and her were tight. That's
Yeah.
the
Sarah
understanding, right?
Me she goes way back. I think we were both subscribers at the time. We, and being subscribers though, you don't know just because you're subscribed to a channel, you do not know what the ins and outs of everything that they're doing behind the scenes.
Of
When
course.
I subscribed to her, I didn't even know that she was the one who put out the fake CPS report.
Ooh.
I would find that out later on.
Hmm. So you weren't even aware that she was the original.
Nope.
She put that into rotation. Wow.
I landed, I've been on here since 2019. I had my own channel. I was in another sector. But when Summer went missing, she's not too far from where I live. I'm from the area, but I'm not in Rogersville. So when she went missing, I really got invested in hers for whatever reason. I just did. So I looked up her name on YouTube and I landed on Plunder.
Okay.
Yeah, and then from Plunder, there was some I can't remember. Then I found Ziggy. And the thing I liked about Ziggy's channel is she was she allowed you to have differing opinions. She didn't block or anything like that. And she came off approachable and
Hmm.
nice. I kind of liked her. Maybe a little dingy, but she's a nice girl. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't really look into anything of her past on YouTube, and she hadn't even been here that long.
Right. And that's the thing with Ziggy is she when this all took place, she wasn't I mean, this was her entrance into the community.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was her entrance. Did she ever apologize for that, though? I'm trying to remember. Or does she still stand by the fake CPS report?
I don't know. I don't know. I know she acknowledged the whole what you guys exposed last night by basically saying she owes you nothing.
It ain't about us.
No, it is not.
Yeah.
Tracy says, can Soup explain that further? The friendship, are you referring to? The friendship of Lolita and Ziggy at that time, or
Yeah. Whatever it is you want me to explain, if I can, I will.
you can absolutely come up, Lana.
I don't know who this nature lover is, but they post old clips from this sector from different creators, channel holders, whatever you want to call them. They even got me one time. I thought it was a new clip of Candace on panel with, God, I can't remember the person's name. And I'm like, what in the heck is she doing? And as I'm listening, I'm like, this is old. This is when John was in jail. They got me good. The
Oh,
two issues, Foster Lady and CPS report. Now, the CPS report, I'm not that well versed in. The Foster Lady, from what I understand, I'm still trying to put this together, is the one that came up on, what was the name she went by? Good grief. On Ziggy's panel. I can't remember what the name was she went by. That person was actually, at the time, she went by Lady CG. Y'all might remember her from Ziggy's. She was a mod there and very active in the chat. But at the time, she went by Lady CG. But when she went up on Ziggy's panel, she had changed her name. God, does anybody remember what Erica? Thank you, Chris. Erica. Thank you, TJ. She went up on that panel, Ziggy's panel, tried to act like her name was Erica, but it was Lady CG, and tried to come off as she was somebody from the South, this area, and knew the Wells boys because she had, I think I'm telling this right, she had a child that went to school with them.
yes.
Yeah.
But when she first went up on the panel, Ziggy makes a comment about, I've been speaking, and then she fixed herself and said, I spoke to
Oh,
somebody
yeah.
who knows of the information because their boys go to school with the Wells boys. And then Lolita says, yes, I'm here because she was uncomfortable coming up. And then all of a sudden, as the conversation went on, it was
Yes.
her child
It was
that
her
knew.
child. You
And
caught
let
that
me
too.
and let me tell you, as a mother of an 11-year-old and a 17-year-old, their lunch conversations are not about their part. They have 15 minutes to eat lunch. They're not sitting there,
No,
divulging their personal information.
that's
That's just ludicrous.
exactly. That's not what children are talking about. They're talking about so many other things and trying to forget, especially something traumatic like that. They're not trying to relive that.
Right. And
But
they're not bragging it to their classmates or anything. And to be honest, I would question if the boys were even immediately back in school.
yeah, Lana K, you can when you come up, if you come up, you can actually, there's private chat and then comments, and you can comment still if you want to. But when she came up there, she acts like she knows the Wells boys, and then she goes on to talk about all the lies, talking about things that are very personal, like she was there, and then she pretends like she knows about the investigation. She said that Candace wouldn't go in that day to talk to the police, and they had to come pick her up the next day to go talk. Why would any children be telling this to their friends?
Right. Right. And then you got the fact that she's supposedly a stranger that's just local to the area that knows the kids, but suddenly she knows about Benny Keys and, all the Summer Wells,
Right.
you can just hear in the conversation, it wasn't two strangers speaking. They were
Nope.
very familiar with each other. And the fact is, we're talking about a child that disappeared. And let's say this woman was a stranger. She didn't ask for any credentials. She didn't put any, of
That part.
right. And then to
That
top it
part.
off, she has her speaking directly to her own minor child. You don't know who this person is,
Well,
but you
you're
can
supposed
now.
to not. Yeah, yeah.
Right.
I believe now. Do I have proof that they absolute proof unrefutable? No. But I do strongly believe that Lady CG, Erica, and Ziggy were talking at the time and were friends. Don't have proof though. I do think that they were. And I think Ziggy knew exactly who that was on panel. And I think that they spoke behind the scenes because at the time, Ziggy was catching so much hell from a lot of other YouTubers about what she had done. I
Mhm.
think she wanted to bring somebody up because she couldn't find a real person to come up. So her and Lolita or Lady CG, whatever, conspired, came up with this elaborate story, and then presented it to the public as if it was facts.
Mm. I'm gonna play the videos that the jerks put together, showing it and pretty much exposing it, as well as Strategy Pimps Exposed did a great job doing that. See, and here's the stance I took on Ziggy, and I will always give her credit for this. When Ziggy went through the whole credit card thing, and it's the same regards I give to Zav Girl. And I know people don't like it, Zav Girl's a bigger example, but
Mhm.
Ziggy kind of climbed back out from that. And having myself being somebody who has had my first year of YouTube held against me, my personal
Mhm.
conversations exploited, plenty of channels, twisting things and painting this narrative of me. I
Mhm.
always have a bit of empathy towards people who have experienced that type of and that level of cyber harassment, if you will.
Mhm. Yeah.
So I gave Ziggy credit for being able to climb back out of that, and I thought she was doing better. When I heard her last night basically say, "I'm not acknowledging this. I don't know them anything," and turn into drama. When no, this is about a true crime case that you covered. This is like a
Right.
serious thing. You know what I mean? I just
Yeah. Well, like
so
you said, it's not about the jerks. It's not about you. It's about, girl, come on out and just tell the people you lied. It's not about us. It's not about any petty drama. And I understand what you're saying about you tried to give her some grace. I sometimes root for the underdog too. You want to see them come out better. But I just got this sneaking suspicion, Granny's watching, that you never took somebody for a lot of money, or
yeah.
you never gave out your subscribers' personal information. There.
The worst I've done is say some really mean words. I mean, these people act like I've you know, lit people on fire or something or kicked puppies.
Yeah, sometimes they
So
really do, don't they?
they do. And the worst I've done is I got caught up in my first year of being on YouTube of getting the backlash and the doxing and, and I
Mhm.
was very nasty with my reaction. I was, I was very reactive. It felt so serious then. So
Yeah,
I try to give grace. And like you said, you joined her channel, she seemed good, and you find these old clips of people. My problem remains is that she continues to do similar behaviors. Like this
yeah,
whole bullshit right now with Fred Hill, and you got them talking about what blows the one that really makes me angry is when they kept saying there was pictures of Summer abused on
yeah.
Don Well's phone through the little 1 centimeter image they could see.
Mm. And it's always like on this child's name. They will not let her just, or let, they, I don't know. This sector has really, I don't know what you call this. I don't know if it's true crime. I wouldn't call it true crime.
No,
It's, it's truly a crime how they behave on these children.
right.
And take these cases and lie on them and add to and all this extra speculation. I understand speculating somewhat, but don't put it out as facts.
Yep, and they were putting out as facts that there's these horrible photos of Summer and shirtless, and it was just horrific, and that was recent.
Oh God, yeah, you did a live on that. Is it the, oh God, the one that Justin done and
And
who else?
Justin, Cher,
Yep, yep. I
Ziggy,
watched your live on that. Yeah.
that
It was a
was
picture.
horrific. Yeah, they were saying that Don sent a photo of Summer, and then down the bottom you can see like his photo
Yeah,
reel,
that was it. Yep.
and then through those little tiny, again 1 centimeter images, they were able to get all these graphic, horrific details that, quite frankly, there has to be something off in your brain to go to those likes. Do you know what I mean?
That's what I thought, because why is your mind going there? Why is that the first place that your mind is going?
Right.
And the dramatics of it all, like they were so theatrical in their fake outrage and being upset, and oh my God, come on, let's bring it down all the notches.
But without all that, they don't get the viewership, right? Without those dramatics, you know, they have to be dramatic. I mean, I even pointed out, and Justin, he demonstrated that Summer's arms were up in 6 different ways.
Yeah.
It's like, so which one was it, you know?
Right. I remember that.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
So I did receive a clip, and it's showing that Ziggy slips up here when referring to the CPS source, accidentally saying you when referring to the CPS source. She caught herself, but you can hear it here. Maybe you can help explain it once I get it up here.
I think I know which one you're talking about.
How do I even? Oh, there we go. Okay. Is it up on our screens here?
Yeah.
Oh, but we're blocking us. All right. Pull that forward. Okay. So here's the clip. And you can probably elaborate on it.
I don't hear no sound.
Did you hear it?
No, I didn't hear no sound, hun.
Oh, no sound. Shit,
No
my
sound.
bad. Amateur, I'm sorry. What happened?
Did you hear it?
To share audio, share a tab or screen instead. Yeah. Any sound?
Nope.
No?
No. That's just weird.
That is weird, because I can hear it just fine.
Did it download? Oh, you can hear it? Okay. That's...
Nobody can hear it.
Yeah, we're just getting started. Granny is anyway. You ain't missed too much yet.
So all right. So I don't know why I can't get sound, because I'm sharing sound with my screen share and everything. But basically in here, when referring to the alleged CPS, you know, person that she knows, she slips up and says, because and she told me. So it's just like, you know, but I don't know why I can't. I can try to upload it.
I think I've got it. Maybe I can. Hold on.
Okay.
Okay. I've got it right here, but I can't play it. But this.
Yeah, I'm speaking to. She said, I'm going to have to find out which one that you talked to. I think I know who you mean. Oh yeah, because that's like exactly what she said. And yeah, I told people here that that person, or I had mentioned that, you know, that they were trying. Yeah, I told people here that that person.
Did y'all hear that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I told everybody here that that person,
that person, that person. Yeah.
Wow.
That you is really.
That's so telling. And then the way she stumbled, like, oh shit, that person. And that's just one example. There are many examples of that. Thank you so much, Wa. This had me the other day, Jess. I had to share a whole screen, and a media player, for some reason, is just not window for sound to work. Oh, Lenny, say play it again.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm speaking to. She said, I'm going to have to find out which one that you talked to. I think I know who you mean. Oh yeah, because that's like exactly what she said. And yeah, I told people here that that person, or I had mentioned that, you know, that they were trying. Yeah, I told people here that that person,
yeah. You called it.
That I mean, she's honestly horrible at it.
It's horrible. This is the worst acting I've ever seen. And listening to those two on that panel from November 2021, November 18th, I think. Just watching it back, they're both doing a horrible job at acting as if they don't know each other. And if you're really paying attention, you'll hear the slip ups. They're there.
Well, and so you guys, you did a great point. Let me play a part where you guys are playing, the whole
Okay.
Siggy's interaction, but you ladies did a fabulous job of pointing out that there were key things that stand out about Lolita that this person was also doing. The running water, the cats. I mean, it was almost
God,
I had a funny situation.
I had flashbacks listening to that water running. I'm a stickler for sound when we're live. My thing is nobody wants to hear your dogs barking. No one wants to hear your water running. No one wants to hear all that extra noise. And we could never get her when we were the circle jerks. Lolita, we could never get her just to be still and be present in the live with us. It was always the water running, dishes in the sink, that squeaky door. Oh God. Yeah.
Right. And that they're the same things that the insider information to the foster parents had going on. I mean, it's almost too, if the voice wasn't enough, if the obvious of how these two are not strangers wasn't enough, then that all, what are the odds of that?
The 11th commandment. Pearl really, she remembers that as clear as day because, when you're friends with somebody, they say certain things, whether it's something weird like the 11th commandment or just little key phrases that they say, right? That one really stuck out to Pearl because it confused her, the whole 11th commandment, because clearly we all know that there's 10, but whatever. And she remembered very clearly that she had to go look that up right after Lolita had said that. This is a long time ago. And then she says it, Lolita, Lady CG, Erica, on that panel, the whole 11th commandment. And it's like, wow, there's just so many things. There's so many Easter eggs in that.
Pearl is actually on panel. Hey, Pearl.
Oh, I didn't see it.
Hi, how am I for sound? I always need a little bit of guidance. Am I too low, too loud?
I think you're good.
Perfect. Yeah.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Hi, Granny. I'm so glad that you're the first person covering this because I feel like that a lot of people are going to focus on the dispute between us and Ziggy, and really it's a step beyond that. I the thing that has stuck with me since this came out a couple of days ago and we realised the connection is what has been said about those boys. And also personally for me, I know Don and Candace have come on YouTube and have made a spectacle of the sideshow of themselves. But then I always keep thinking this was at the very start. How much of how they've reacted on YouTube has actually been fed by arriving in this situation and these things being said. And none of it can be put back in the bottle. And I just wonder about the way that how this happened, the CPS source and the foster parent source, how that shaped our perception of Don and Candace. Now, I am not saying, before anybody starts to me, I'm not saying that they're saints. I don't know what actually happened to Summer. It could still all come to a charge. I do think that there was obviously a difficult situation with the way that they were parenting those children, and that's why the children were removed. But also, when you've got people just casually dropping as if it's facts. Candace suspected the oldest boy. He's got scars on him because he was hit by a poker. These things were just dropped out.
Using kerosene.
It has shaped the narrative almost from day one about how they are perceived as people on YouTube, and it can never be put back in the bottle.
No.
No, and
And
you're
that's the
right.
first year.
Right. This is the very this was the very beginning of Summer's case. This is before Donnie and Candace were on panels. This was
Yep.
before all of that. And you're right. There's only so much any one person can take of that type of slanderous accusations, and maybe that is why they came out swinging the way they did, or got into the drinking so heavily. And because right as of today, whether people like it or not, they're not arrested.
Nope, they're not.
Right? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So when you're putting out all these allegations of this abuse, and you got SA, and and we know they're addicts, we know all that. Who's to say that didn't contribute to what ended up unfolding before all of our eyes by them too? It could have.
I don't think they ever should have been put on panels, to be
No,
honest.
no. I'll never forget Molly Golightly saying, "Tell Don I'll SSD for an interview." Never forget it.
Yeah.
When we
I
first
agree.
started, as when we were in Circle Jerk, when Lolita was still, well, it was Lolita's channel, but we were all part of a group together. Don did actually come in pretty much from day one. Do you remember, Soup? He was actually in the
yeah.
chat, and
And
he
I
asked for a
told
link,
him,
and we were like, no,
no.
no.
I was like, I'm
And I'm
sorry,
so
John.
glad. I mean, now on reflection, I wonder whether Lolita was just like, hellfire, I don't want him up up on the panel, because she didn't want to touch any of the Summerwell situation. And she was quite, do you remember, she was quite hard because she did not want to deal with that. I was
Yes.
against him coming up because I just thought, I don't want you saying something really inappropriate that I'm going to have an issue with. I don't want to be getting involved in a fight with you
Yeah.
on a panel. So it was, but now I wonder whether it was done out of any sense of integrity, or whether it was done by knowing that eventually something could come out and just wanting to swerve it completely.
That's a good point. And I'm wondering myself, I think we've all wondered this. I think there was definitely a lot more between Lolita and Ziggy behind the scenes. They spoke all the time. And the way, in my opinion, Ziggy came out swinging on Lolita, so much so that she gave the jerks information, the ones that bought off of Ziggy. Thank God me and Pearl didn't, so she didn't have ours. But anybody that was a part of the circle jerks at the time, Ziggy handed over our personal information, their personal information. Where was I going? Oh, the way she came out swinging on Lolita. It seems like there's something deeper there than the whole credit card situation. Like, she was hell bent on revenge. I feel like they both had a lot on each other, and I question what Lolita was thinking too at that time. Was she nervous that more would come out? But also, if Ziggy would have put that out, then Ziggy would have also been under fire.
Right. It's one of those things you can't expose without exposing yourself, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah, but she was hell bent on trying to undermine any last scrap of credibility that there could be for Lolita. Now, I'm not standing up for Lolita on this. When it all came out, the thing that I held on to was she never ever asked us for anything. In the situation that I saw her, she was always giving. That doesn't change the things that she said and done. What I'm saying is, I never saw any evidence of any scamming in this sector. But now, having this come out 2 days ago, it's like there is more to a scam than finance.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be about money. It's about integrity. And now,
You remember Pearl?
even after everything that went on, I was still concerned about the way that they brought people onto YouTube who were part of her personal life because of the custody issues about the child. And I still had strong feelings about that. And I wanted, most of all, whatever had happened, we've never had any contact with Lolita since the day that we found out that everything that she told us about her own work and background and everything was a lie. We never had any contact since. But in my
No.
heart of hearts, there's always been part of me who've thought, wherever you are out there, I wish you well. I hope that you're keeping that child safe. I hope that life is good for you. And I must admit, since this came out 2 days ago, I'm like, not only did I not know you, but I don't know it. I don't know the bottom. I don't know where the bottom is of things that you've done. And now I just wish that I had never had any part of you in my life.
I
If you
know.
can do this, if you can talk about children like this,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't have words for it, and that's unusual for me. It's just like there's no end to the disappointment.
Well,
There
maybe
isn't. And
maybe
can
she
I say
like
something
of
real
course.
quick about the nursing license, Granny? Ziggy keeps bringing up the nursing license. They even, I'm quoting Ziggy, I'm paraphrasing Ziggy. They even lied and said that they saw her nursing license.
We did.
We did, but
Well, we
it
saw a
was
fake
a
one.
fake nursing license. So yes, we seen a nursing license, but come to find out, that wasn't her nursing license. She had taken that name from somebody else and used it as her own to convince us and other people in the sector that she was indeed a nurse practitioner. So that there.
Who did
And
that?
we had to
Sorry.
look. We had to
Lolita.
search this poor
Lolita.
woman. There's a woman out there who doesn't even know that her name has been associated with Lolita and that her license has been associated with Lolita. Thankfully, we're not exploiting that anyway, but we had to go and check. And when we saw where it all linked,
Yep.
we spent a day really digging into everything. And it was like, by the end of that day, we were done. We were done.
Yeah. Then when
Hey,
we
Lana,
asked,
welcome to the panel.
Hey, sorry, my voice is gone for some reason. I sound pretty hoarse. But I just wanted to quickly say something, if I may.
you want to come closer to the mic, hun? So
Yeah, I
we can,
tried turning up the settings, but I don't think it
yeah.
helped much.
Let me try. Hold on one second.
You are beautiful, by the way, Lana.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, thank you. Can I?
Yeah, just put your nose
I
right
can,
to the screen now. We'll
I
be
was
able to
just going
hear.
to say, I can't. Let me explain. I've got a hearing issue. I only have hearing in one ear. I couldn't hear anything that she said then. If I don't catch a question for me, Sue, can you
Yeah.
repeat? Because
I got
I could not hear a word there.
I think she's trying to work on it.
I think I got it. I might. Is it any better now?
Where do you have like, are you on your laptop or phone?
No, I'm on my phone, but I have my earpods in. I wonder if I change my headphones. would
Yeah.
that be-
Yeah.
If you take them off, it'll sound better.
All right, hold on one sec.
No problem. Take your time. No, don't apologize. What? So for those who are still a little confused because we didn't really show it yet, back in the beginning of Summer's case, Ziggy hosted somebody, Erica, who claimed to be an insider source to the CPS and the foster parent allegations, and she spouted out all these claims as factual that were not factual at all. And it turns out it is somebody that is known. It is somebody that held a channel with the jerks. It is somebody that has been around. So that whole stranger with insider information was no other than a hoax. I mean, it was a setup.
Yep.
Sadie's claiming she was unaware. People strongly disagree with that.
All right, better now. Can
Yes.
everybody hear me?
Yes.
Perfect.
That's fantastic. Thank you.
All right. So, like, first of all, I want to say I like completely agree with the whole is it okay to pull these people up that are supposedly giving us information? No. Nothing that was done in this case was ever like online was ethical, in my opinion.
Mhm.
However, I feel like it's also irresponsible to say that somebody like knew something when we do not have a proof of that. Um, and it and that goes for everybody. Like, I don't care. Like, I remember when people were saying, oh my gosh, jerks knew who Lolita was the whole time. They were covering for her.
Yeah.
You know, I remember being like, where's your proof for that? You know? And the other day we had a whole situation with a fake Fed where people are like, this is fake Fed, this is fake Fed,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And I know Ziggy can, I just feel like Ziggy's so easy to read. Like, I don't know how to like explain it. Like, I can always tell when she is like
Lying.
trying to say something that may not be the way it is. And I just feel like it's not fair to, you know, put it on her that she works with this person when we don't know that.
No, I don't have absolute proof. I just suspect. But
Right.
yeah.
And I understand, you know, it's just I've been seeing it like in chats today and yesterday. People are claiming it as a fact. And
Mm.
I don't know. I feel like we did so much damage. I was responsible of that. I remember like a few months back yelling in TM's chat, Penny is this, Penny is that. And I honestly, you know, had no right, nor I knew for a fact that she is whatever people were accusing her of. So I think we need to give everybody that same grace as well, you know?
I understand. I understand exactly what you're saying. She still holds some responsibility for hosting this person.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's completely different, you know, situation and a different subject. It's just, you know, we don't know that she knew this was that, you know, that Lolita was. I
Yeah.
don't think they worked behind the scenes. I don't
I
know.
don't know. It's hard to, for me, it's hard not to see it that way because of knowing how close those two were,
I
how
get it.
much they talked on the phone, and the links that Lolita was going to help Ziggy get a
Right.
house. So it's hard for me to believe that they didn't know. Both of them know each other at the time. I do not have absolute proof, but I'm just going to go with the
Right.
obvious, but I don't have the proof.
And so many times, like, we forget, you know, we know so many little tiny details that happened. But I noticed there's so many new people. And I remember when I first came here, a few creators could say to me, I don't know anything. And I would believe just because they said it, or they must have, you know, had, you know, the right moral compass. They must have checked this information, and I would take it as fact. And I
Mhm.
know that there is so many new people out there, you know, they look up to people with
Yeah.
platforms and they hear it. So I just feel it's so important for us to do better. You know, even with this new case now, with Rogers case, I thought we learned something from Summer. Here we are again, all the same people from the Summers community, putting stuff in chats, writing things as, you know,
Mhm.
I just think each of us need to do better when it comes to that. That's my only thing. I respect like the way you guys feel about Ziggy. I respect, you know, everybody has their own likes and dislikes. I don't know. It's a heavy allegation, you know, and
Yeah, the allegations that they put out on the Wells were very heavy too, you know.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And Jody Sue, yeah, I
Mhm.
I completely agree. But
Well,
you know,
we
we
also
can
have to
try.
acknowledge that despite the information coming from the jerks, it is still it's not the personal aspect of it more so than it is the um the fact that it happens, you know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
I knew that was going to happen. I knew it was going to be somewhat dismissed because it's the jerks. I knew
Yeah.
they were going to be people that said they're just doing it out of being revengeful. They don't like Ziggy, you know.
I don't think so. I think that lots of people in in this community respect and find them credible. Hey, I have bunch of disagreements with these ladies, and
Yeah.
I cannot say that I do not trust their integrity.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like we need to do better, like start from ourselves and just do better.
I think you're speaking in general,
Right,
mainly. Yeah. Like,
right.
especially with these children's cases, and the people covering them really need to do better. Yeah, I agree.
Right, right. That's all I wanted to say. I appreciate you guys. Granny, thank you.
Of course, Lana. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Have a good day.
You too.
Bye, Lana.
Bye.
Take care.
I will say, I've got to say, in Lana's situation, I mean, she will tell you if you said something that she disagrees with. She's not
She's very
slow
vocal.
in coming
Yeah.
forward with an opinion, but having seen her up here and speaking, she's really trying to strike a balance between how she sees things, and I do respect her opinion in that no, we can't give you like photographs of the two of them together or a tape of them setting this all up in the background. I mean, wouldn't it be wonderful if we could actually nail down something 100% factually? It'd be fantastic. We can't. All we can say to you is, at the time, she was helping Ziggy find a rental property. That's the behaviour of somebody that you're quite close to. That she was super chatting Ziggy episodes before that particular show.
Yeah.
That
And
the
we
whole
showed
atmosphere
it.
of the phone call, the way it starts, the way that she's just calling little Zig over to come and chat with this stranger on the phone. Well, it wasn't a stranger, was it? That was obvious. It's just everything about it is a mess, and I don't feel good about it. But equally, if we hadn't have touched this, what sort of people would we be if we thought this and we said nothing? I find it interesting that if all the earlier things that Ziggy has covered, and if you're a supporter of Ziggy, I just ask you to consider this. She quite often will review old evidence and things that she's done, old programs, re-edit, premiere it, go over it again. She's done that with lots of things. What's the one thing that you've never heard her cover again?
That one and
Yeah.
the CPS one.
That's why it was
Those,
such a shock to us. That
yeah.
whole talking to somebody who knows the foster parents thing, she would mention it in passing, but she had this phone call. If she genuinely believed that was a legit phone call, why was it never ever covered again?
Yep.
She couldn't risk it because Lolita's voice was now everywhere.
Everybody picked up on that voice as soon as they heard it. Hey, Blair.
Hey,
Hey, Clara.
I'm actually kind of lost as to like the immediate subject matter that's going on here because I really don't listen to Ziggy. But here's the thing though, is like there's a reason why I don't listen to Ziggy. I consciously avoid any creators at this point who tag Summerwell's name.
Yeah.
Every single one. Doesn't
Yeah.
matter who they are. And I stopped doing this a long time ago. And it's simply because there is no evidence. I mean, give me something that is tangible that pertains to Summerwell's case. That's not even, you know what I mean? Something that
Yeah.
could be considered evidence. Anything. I mean, anything. It doesn't matter what it is. But I never hear anything. All I hear are rumors. All I see are new names popping up that knew somebody who knows somebody who heard something from somebody.
Just
And
regurgitating.
Right. And
Yeah.
here we are. We're 3 months away from it being 3 years since this little
Mm-hmm.
girl went missing. And we have gotten nowhere, nowhere closer to finding out what happened to her, nowhere closer to just these creators, so-called creators, have just used her name and spun more crap.
Mm-hmm.
So now there's just more crap. Nothing good, nothing helpful, nothing even, like I said, like nothing even helpful
No.
that goes towards finding this little girl. Everything, literally everything now that is out on the internet in regards to Summer Wells is counterproductive to finding her. And nobody seems to care.
Oh, it's all a big distraction is what it
Yeah.
is. It's a way to keep the headline going, to keep the audience going.
And do you all notice how I don't know, it's like every time you think that the Summer Wells stuff is dying down, somebody finds a way to bring it back up and make it, I don't know, it's just like every 3 or 4 months, somebody finds a way to make it headlines again.
Well, it's never headlines, is it? It's just YouTube
Well, yeah,
trauma crap. It's not even like top tier YouTube trauma.
no,
It's bottom feeding sewer crap.
crabs in a
That
bucket. Yep.
right. It's constantly like, and I don't understand why people continue to contribute to it. I don't get it. And they love to say, well, it's because we're doing it for this little girl, and you hear these idiots like
Oh,
Prayer
thank you for
Garden.
everything you do for. Yeah, I
Yeah,
hate that. I
yeah.
hate that.
Oh, we're that little girl needs us, and we're Summer's Army, and blah blah.
Yes. Ah,
You're not
that cringes
doing
me.
anything
Yeah,
right.
I
You're
know.
not doing
God.
anything good. Like you're doing everything that you shouldn't be doing, and the one thing you should be doing at this point, considering that there is no evidence, considering there's no new information, considering there's nothing that you can actually apply to getting closer to Summer Wells, considering all of that, the only people that you should be listening to are the law enforcement agents that are tasked with the responsibility of finding her. And they even said 3 years ago, 2 years ago, that that it's because of the social media.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yes, they
Effery,
did specifically say that.
right?
Specifically said it. Yep.
Well,
That they're no closer to getting there, and here we are 2 years after, or a year after that press conference. 2 years after that press conference, excuse me, almost 2 years after that press conference, and it's worse. So explain that to me.
well, and that's what part of this is. So when Summer's case first, happened, Siggy hosted somebody on panel that claimed to be in with the foster parents of Summer's brothers. And she proceeded to give all this information that she allegedly knew, horrific information, which many other creators sprouted out in subscribers and they took it at face value. And here it was, they were friends. It was a hoax. The person was never nobody other than her main moderator at the time.
I think the two things that were said that hit home, I mean, there was the usual spiel about the abuse of the children. We don't know what's true and what isn't true there. But two things that Erica A /Alita Lady CG, whatever you want to call her, two things that she stated as fact during that phone call were: the children were removed because of Don. He was an imminent threat, an imminent danger to their well-being, and that Summer was presumed deceased. And those two things were stated as facts. And this was really early on in the game. How much influence did that have on people's perceptions?
Right. And that's extremely dangerous. And I've said this many, many times. The reason why that's dangerous is if you are of the mindset that a missing child or a missing person, doesn't matter, child, adult, doesn't matter, if they're missing and we don't have information as to what their whereabouts are, and we presume the narrative is that that person is deceased, well, then what happens? Subconsciously, the masses aren't looking for them. The masses are not keeping their eyes peeled for them. The masses are just assuming and behaving on the idea that that person is deceased and no longer needs help, no longer needs to be located. So it's extremely dangerous to spin the narrative that Summer Wells is no longer with us, because we have no information to indicate that at all. Nothing tangible, nothing reliable.
Nothing. Almost 3 years later, and we're no closer. I wish that a lot of people would just stop with the speculations and trying to dredge this back up constantly. If it's not directly related to Summer, they will find, oh God, like this whole Fred Hill thing. I mean, he has become content now. It's just like always somebody that they knew that lived down the road 8 miles, or a family friend. It's just always somebody that they find.
And every single one of these people always turn out to be nobodies.
Nobody. People they don't really know. Right.
They have no information. You have Jody Sue Brown now who supposedly heard a scream, and now she's just part of the YouTube fuckery. You know, like, tell me I'm wrong. You know what I mean? Like, tell me I'm wrong.
And I feel like it's started to become pick your fighter, pick your team on YouTube. Are you team Andy Bernard or are you team Fred Hill? And not enough people are team Summer Wells. There's still a child missing in this, but this whole sort of, yes, well, Andy Bernard says this. Yes, but Fred Hill says this. I wish both of them would disappear. They're just muddying the waters all the time.
Or like, why do we need to know what size underwear Fred Hill wears?
I know, right?
About that. So, but that's how far we've come. Is we're now discussing.
We now know.
So weird.
Yeah. I know.
We laughed like hell about the list of things that Fred needs, not because he doesn't need our help, but the fact that he wears extra large jeans but 2XL underwear, and we're like, sort of, does he bend time, space, and physics? How on earth is he putting a 2XL package into an XL pair of jeans? And at least that stuff is stupid and silly. But when it comes to saying
totally irrelevant,
right?
When it comes to saying, "Oh yes, I know, because my child goes to school with one of these boys, that they had cockroaches in their book bag," what the hell?
Yeah, and why is anybody even interested in knowing what a CPS report? There's a reason why these reports are sealed. It's because you have no business knowing the private lives of minors, period. You don't have any business knowing that. So not just is it crappy for you to, I'm trying to watch my language, Granny's watching Kurt out of respect for you.
So can say whatever, just ban the CUNT word.
You're right. I'll refrain from that. But I do. Yeah, I try to respect other people's rules on their channel.
Yeah, if you drop the C bomb, I'll be out of here because I find it deeply, deeply offensive.
Yes, we know. But you have these people who it's not just people who think that. I mean, because obviously it's trashy that you would take information that is supposed to be CPS reports, that's supposed to be the private life of a child. It's not just bad that you're putting it out there. Mm-hmm. The only reason they're putting it out there is because there's a demand for it from the consumer. And so for some reason, there's a whole bunch of people in this community who think that they're entitled to this information. And it makes no sense to me. It makes no sense because it's not relevant to Summer's disappearance whatsoever. And there's a reason why when they conduct an interview with a child, they have a specialist that conducts these interviews because they are trained to talk to these children. So anything that you hear through the grapevine that may or may not come from a child is not reliable at all. It's not even the slightest bit reliable. So for anybody to sit here and act like it's somehow valuable information and getting closer to getting the answers to Summer, you're not first of all, you're not entitled to those answers because you're not her parent. You're not a law enforcement agent. You're nobody.
Mhm.
And now you've stooped as low as to inserting yourself into the private lives of bystander children
Mm-hmm.
who just happen to who are going through this horrible thing simply because they are siblings of a missing child. And
Exactly.
now the whole world knows their business. And
to top it off, it's fake
and,
business.
and they're probably not even true. They're probably just rumors and
Yep.
false claims. So now people are spreading rumors and spinning rumors and consuming rumors about children.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I hope you're all proud of yourselves for that. Not you
And,
on panel. I'm
Yeah.
talking about those of you who perpetuate this crap.
Yep.
and the fact that Ziggy said, because of this woman's profession, she's not going to give her name to not risk her job. That right there, like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Imagine if that was your children's business. And to top
Right.
it off, Summer's oldest brother at the time was 12 years old. At 12 years old, whether people like it or not, kids are on YouTube. These classmates could have found this information and turn around, and now these boys are being taunted for having scabies and roaches and
Yeah.
being burnt with flu. I mean, it was horrific, and nobody seems to care about that. Once it's on the internet, it's there forever. They can search this stuff in 10 years, 5 years. This won't help them because Ziggy wanted
Unfortunately, they
content.
can. Yep.
They might
And
be in college one day,
one
and
of
somebody's going to come up and say, "What about your scabies and roaches?" And that, I mean, what the hell for some content?
yeah, one of the people who went live after our live last night is a very small channel called Coffee Time with Shining Survivors. And the reason that I mentioned her channel and her speaking on this is that she's somebody who is deeply involved in fostering children.
I was
mean,
going
to
to
the
bring that
extent,
up.
like, I think she's 12 children in or something like that, Sue.
Yep.
And she
Yep.
treats it very, very seriously. And she spoke on this. I mean, she was very delicate about it. She didn't go into the ins and outs of what was said about the Welsh children. She's not in that sector particularly. She's a friend of a friend. She was in our chat and listened to it all, and she was coming at it from the foster mother perspective.
Yeah.
And she was saying she did not believe, from her own personal experience, of how difficult it is to be a foster mother in situations where there are legal implications to what has gone on. Just how careful you have to be, because you're trying to integrate a child from a trauma situation. They never come out of good situations. Nobody goes into the foster system from a great family and a great experience. Something has always
No.
happened
Right.
traumatic that this child ends up in foster care, and that you're trying to look after the child. And you may also have to deal with the legal situations around that child, because there may be court cases, there may be things that you have to be aware of, that you have to be very careful what you speak on, very careful who you associate with. And she just could not accept that anybody who'd been through the training and actually cared about a foster child in their care would be involved in any type of conversation like this.
They wouldn't. Yeah. That's
Well,
what
don't
she was
forget,
saying.
a lot of the information was allegedly being told by the boys at school too, as if this is what kids in school are speaking about, or as if the Wells boys were immediately placed back into school to begin with.
Right. I don't believe a foster parent or a friend of a foster parent, if they had any common sense at all anyway, would be up on anybody's panel speaking on these children, knowing their situation.
Right.
Okay, hold on. Now, let me address Jody Sue Brown here, who I've never spoken to in my life, by the way. Who's saying, Glare, talk to Don and others around this and spread BS about all of us too. That never happened. Okay. Now I spoke to Don, but my conversations, 90% of my conversations that took place with Don and Candace, first of all, 100% of them took place in public. Never spoke to them behind the scenes. Secondly, 90% of my conversations with each of them both consisted of me telling them to stay the hell off of YouTube channels because they are perpetuating the problem. They are giving these trolls more
I
fuel,
remember that interview.
more things.
I
wouldn't
remember
even
the one you did with
It was a plea. It was a plea to them to stop. It wasn't even an interview. It was like, dude, you guys realize every time you go on somebody's YouTube channels and you talk and you're doing something courteous in your mind, all you're doing is giving these trolls more to talk about, more to break down, more to pick apart, and it's all that's ever been done. Nothing ever productive has ever come from Don and or Candace being on someone's YouTube channel. Nothing.
Quite the opposite, actually.
Exactly the opposite.
Yeah, I remember you talking to Candace, and you even had the comments turned off on that one. It was just you and her talking. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I if you really want this child to be found, whether you think that the Hawkins County Sheriff's Department is doing enough, whether you think that the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation is doing enough, it doesn't matter what you think. You don't get to dictate whether or not they're doing enough. The bottom line is your hands are tied, just like mine are, that those are the only people even remotely qualified to getting the answers as to what happened to Summer. You're not. I'm not. Nobody is except them. Whether you think they're doing a good job or not is not the question. Because unfortunately, whether you think they're doing a good job or not, they are the best choice we have right now. They are the only choice we have right now. That is the only hope Summer has right now, which are those law enforcement agencies. And the only thing we can do, as torturous as it is, no matter how much we care about this little girl, that is her only hope. And you need to let them just do what they do. There's no other way around it. There's no sugarcoating it. There's no, you're not going to come up with any answers that they haven't come up with. I guarantee it.
I agree. And there is a sector of people who came to YouTube around this case who actually aren't involved in discussing the case anymore, but are out there doing the work. I mean, None of Life is in your chat. And None of Life is somebody who I've only got to know after all the discussion around the Summer's Day thing as a local community event. There was lots of criticism of people saying, oh, it'll be a bun fight, YouTube people will be there and they'll make it into a sideshow. And she was like, no, it's going to be about the community and raising awareness, and we're not putting it on YouTube. And she came and talked to us and really changed my view about it. And since then, she occasionally sends me DMs of things that they're doing, and they really put the work in. I mean, like the Christmas tree for the missing, the Summerwell's Christmas tree they had, which had all those little images of missing children, and on the back there was a QR code that you could find out all the details about this child, height, weight, where they went missing from, how you can help. Real legitimate things. And she goes to all these different county fairs and different events and puts out information so people are aware and they can keep their eyes open. That's real work. That is something that's actually come good out of this community, but it doesn't get any attention because people aren't really interested in doing the work. They're interested in the tabloid side of it. YouTube is like the UK tabloids in the 1980s. You know, it's like the wild, wild west as far as truth goes. Whoever's got the biggest gun comes out of the fight the best.
Well, the tabloids are the same here in the 80s too, by the way.
Yeah.
I mean, they're the same now. You know, they're just better.
Yes, they are. They just have slightly less reach. Because people have the whole citizen journalist thing. The Wild Wild West is YouTube now.
It is.
YouTube is a cross between the tabloids and soap opera. You know, people tune in at a set time and they want to get their Jerry Springer on. And it's very easy to be sucked into that in a chat and then turn it off. It's like, you turn it off, you go and do your thing. The people who've just been discussed are living with this 24/7.
Yeah.
And that Christmas tree, that did go around, but only because people were analyzing how creepy Don looked in front of it. Anybody remember that?
I remember.
So it's like it wasn't the good deed wasn't acknowledged. The missing children on the tree wasn't acknowledged. Just the fact that Don was in front of the tree.
Right. It's true.
That is a great observation. Because I remember thinking, oh, how nice. And then I saw all this. I was like, He's standing
Right.
in front of a Christmas tree. What is the problem?
It's a fucking tree. Like, what? And if he was in front of the tree, they'd be like, Don didn't even go to the tree, you know?
You can't win. There's
Yeah,
no
right.
winning on here. There really isn't. You just have to
Right.
accept that, unfortunately.
Oh, Don is on a YouTube channel and he's not talking about summer. Oh my God, he's terrible. Oh, Don is in front of a Christmas tree looking for summer. Oh my God, he's so creepy. There's
Right.
there's nothing the man can do. Nothing.
Well, that's even like when people harped on the fact that he didn't know his kids' birthdays, right? Not for nothing, but a lot. I remember my father took me to the doctor. I was 15. He told the doctor I was 12, and I'm like, I'm 15. Like,
Oh,
men just,
God.
you know
My
what I mean?
dad still does that.
And
He
even
always
like when
gets my age wrong. Yeah.
yes, even when I'm on the phone with the doctors, they're like, "What's the date of birth?" Sometimes I give the other child's year. Like, you get mixed up. I don't think that was enough to. I mean, look at him. Are we really going to hold to him that he doesn't know his kids' birthdays? Like, that was the big break in headlines.
I mean, right. The guy is not on trial for being shitty. You know what I mean? Like, that's not
Right.
just because someone is a questionable human being, it does not make them child murderers. You know, it doesn't make them child abusers. It doesn't. I mean, you have to show evidence of a specific accusation, and then, okay, then I'll address it. But just because you don't like the way the guy looks and he doesn't say the right things the way that you would say them at just the right time, it doesn't mean that something that he's doing is suspicious. It just
I even
doesn't.
had to check myself on that, Glare. I'm not going to lie, because in the beginning, I was one of those, everything he'd done, everything Candace done, I judged. I will not lie, because I didn't like their actions on here.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to even kind of check myself, you know, so kind of doing a little too much, because subconsciously it gets in your mind, and you judge everything that they do because you think that they're guilty of something.
Well, on one
Right.
hand, people want them to be these, with utmost respect, dumb hillbillies, right? And on the other, they want them to be these master criminal minds that were able to make Summer disappear and get away with it so far. Which one is it?
Yeah, that's true.
Hey, Jason.
Hey guys.
What's up,
I kind
Jason?
of did
Hi,
have a
Jason.
question right into what you guys were just saying. Like, that's exactly the question I hopped up to ask. Do you guys feel like the hate for the Wells was as intense prior to the leak of the CPS and the leak of the foster family situation? Once everybody heard that, do you think the hate for them persisted? It became more intense and
Absolutely.
lasted?
I do.
Yeah.
I think it
Because
became
all
more
we had,
intense.
all we had to go off of before all that was, you know, just their interview on WJHL, right?
Mm,
And then just like some news interviews that they had done here and there. And then here comes YouTube with the Summer Wells community. And I think it intensified it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember the Chris McDonough interviews coming out like in sections. It wasn't one great big thing all at once. And after that first interview with the local news network.
Oh, you mean all the
now,
ones that he sent to members only, piece by piece?
yes.
Yeah, I remember.
Ironically, one of the things that Chris McDonough did that sort of changed my perspective a bit. I thought I had a set perception that very first interview with Don and Candace. Candace was obviously on reflection now, under the influence of something. I think they were both sort of absolutely shell-shocked. They did not come across well in that interview. When Chris McDonough actually interviewed Candace by the water hole thing, I really felt sympathetic towards her. I think it showed a different side to the way that she was speaking. And I did have a much better perception of her from that. I still think he should not have done a whole load of that stuff. But I'm talking about my perception at the time, watching him speak to her and watching her speak. I thought that she
Yeah, I
came
was
across
so grateful
a much more
for that
sympathetic
interview.
person.
Yeah,
And,
I thought that it was great.
And then all this blew up. And
And then
changed
it
my
wasn't.
opinion again.
The house tour, I think, is really one that everyone got upset about the house tour. It really spiraled from there.
Yeah.
Jody, so with utmost respect, nothing you have done in the 2 or 3 years you've been here has aged well. So if you
Nothing.
don't see this aging well, that's fine. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, that's just great that you think that, because like what's really funny, Jody Sue, what you have to understand is I approach every case, any case, doesn't matter. Like if you're throwing accusations or spinning narratives that somebody is guilty of a crime, I look at them as though they're on trial and I'm a juror. Okay. Now, and you can ask anybody who watches me knows this. And if the prosecution, knowing what we know today, if Don or Candace were on trial for something that happened to Summer, hypothetically speaking, and the prosecution put you on the stand, and then a defense attorney, a first year public defender got a hold of you and cross-examined you, if I was a juror, I would be like, nothing this woman says is worth anything. Nothing. It means nothing. I would tear you, if I was a defense attorney, I would tear you apart and say, okay, you have a personal relationship with them. You guys had a falling out then. You had a falling out this time, and you threw all of your personal crap between you and the Wells all over YouTube. And now the whole world knows that you have a personal stake in all this. That means that anything that you say, Jody Sue Brown, has no credibility. None. So it doesn't matter what you say at this point. It doesn't matter what you've said in the past. You have no credibility because you have a personal issue with the very people that would be on trial for this crime. You mean nothing.
She says she has proof. You do not.
Yeah. It's been 3 years. Where's this proof?
It does drag on. Yeah.
I mean, am I being unreasonable here by asking you to provide anything that makes you credible in any of this?
I don't find it unreasonable at all.
But wasn't even the being able to hear a scream, wasn't that debunked?
I don't even know. I know that law enforcement never publicly put any weight to it. So
That's true.
Yeah.
that
They
means nothing to me.
dismissed it. They did. Yeah.
I think once everything's been said out here by Candace and Dawn and Fred and Andy and Jody, it then becomes something that people can twist around and turn and use against them. But also, what happens if it does go to court where people can bring up all these live streams and use it against the witness? They can say, well, that's not what you said on, March 12th of 2022, because it's all out here now. So in a way, Blair is right. I mean, how are you able to say all these things, Dawn and Candace included, and then be able to be a witness when there's public statements made out? You can't, because if you change your story even a little bit, they can call you on it. I think that's kind of what Claire is saying, is if I say today that, I have a plot against Pearl and I hate her and blah, 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 and in 2 years, there's a case between me and Soup, and
Yeah.
Pearl is the co-defendant, they're just going to go back to what I said today. Oh,
Yep.
but you did say this. And I can't keep saying, well, that's not what I meant. That's not how I meant to say it. And well, you said it in front of 600 people.
Yep.
Right.
So you're screwed after that.
Right. In a nutshell, Chasing, what I'm saying is, and I think you would agree with me here, is if you think, and I'm talking to Jody Sue, if you think that Dawn and Candace had something to do with Summer's disappearance, you, by going on YouTube as much as you have over all these years, saying the things that you've said, have likely cost Summer justice. If it turns out that Dawn and or Candace had something to do with her disappearance, by doing everything that you've done, you have muddied the waters, and now you have possibly and likely cost Summer justice, if there's any truth to anything that you've said. because you're not a credible witness now. You're no longer a credible witness. And Jody Sue, I'm only singling you out because you're in chat. I feel the same exact way about anybody else.
I was just going to ask that. Do you feel the same even about if it was Candace? Do you feel the same about Dawn? Totally. Do you feel the same 100%. About Jenna, who recorded them? Those 100%. Kind of people. 100%. Yeah, it's ruined everything.
Fred
if they're
Hill,
guilty, it's ruined
Hunter,
it all. Yeah.
Hunter's mom, Hunter's dad, whatever his name is. Every single Ernie Shell. Every single one of these idiots that decided to insert themselves to say, I know this person and I talked to this person, blah, 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 blah. You have systematically cost this little girl justice if it turns out that you're right about what happened to her. That's the irony of all this.
And wasted TBI's time by putting out these rumors.
That's exactly what Sebastian Rogers' stepdad was saying on Smiley's panel. He was very angry and frustrated. He said every time something from social media happens, they have to go investigate this. You're taking a body from looking for our child. Stop this shit. And in Summer's case, they come out really early on and said, please, unless it's something you know for sure, stop.
And they even asked for YouTubers to
time.
stop calling TBI.
Yeah, Jody's right. That includes my very first interview with Dawn. Cher called me and messaged me, emailed and said, I have the opportunity to talk to him. He wants to talk in a calm manner. He wants to be able to kind of put his knowledge out there. Can you help? And I was like, ooh, this is a big one. I don't know. What is he talking about exactly? And she just said, well, if you just sit there for support, that'll even be good. I'm like, all right. I think I clarified like 2 or 3 statements with him in the beginning on that live, but I didn't really know what to ask him. He wasn't there. So what can you ask somebody who wasn't present?
Talking about Dawn.
There isn't a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dawn and Cher, I guess, way in the beginning when she first made friends with him.
Oh, I remember.
He wanted to do an interview. Yeah, and keep in mind, Jody, he's asked me to do future interviews with him on my channel. He wanted me to do him and Candace and what their life has been like for 2 years. And I said, no.
No. Yeah. He tried
I said,
to come
why
up
don't
on
you?
ours. Yeah, we said no.
Yeah, I said, call Tim because maybe this is a really bad idea. This is right after, was it Athena with the UPS driver, the FedEx driver? Was it the little girl?
Yes.
Okay, that's the case. Yeah, it was right at that specific time. I just said I think it would be in bad taste too, because this little girl, her story right now is out there. This all happened. It's just not a good idea, I don't think. And he was like, no, I get it. So we never did it. But yeah, I did interview Dawn once. I did. But I mean, is my interview with Dawn one time the same as your 740 videos? 920? I don't think. I think on that video I said all of 60 words to him. So I mean, we can compare it all day.
I don't think
I'm not the neighbor either.
Perpetuated this narrative though that has tried to be pushed out still to this day. I don't find that that's the same.
No, I mean, I stopped when I realized, what the fuck, I'm not helping here. There's nothing that I can say or do that's going to help bring this baby justice. That's why I participate in Summer's Day, because that's tangible. Maybe that's something that could help. I don't know.
But even your tangible efforts are perceived and put out with a certain narrative by people who develop personal issues with you. The criticism of you going to search, it bewilders me, because it becomes about the personalities. I don't care who it is who has gone down to search. If somebody has gone down, not watched on YouTube and has just been down there actually looking, why is that wrong? Why
Right.
is
I don't
Nana
know.
for Life and the people who organised Summer's Day, including, I know Jason did some work as well, why were
Mhm.
people so invested in seeing that go down as a shit show? Before it even happened, people were talking
Before it
about, oh,
ever,
it'll be
before
this, it'll be
anything
that.
occurred, we were
Yeah,
terrible people for doing it. We shouldn't be doing it. None
They
of this
wanted you
should
to change
happen.
the date. Remember
Yeah. And
that?
then,
Yeah.
yeah. And it
Yeah.
became that we were trying to exploit Summer by doing this. That's still the narrative running at this very moment. That we exploited her, that what we did was wrong. We did it for money. We did it for clout. We did it to go harass Jody. There's a lot
Well,
of things that are being said, and my understanding is there's something being like a documentary type expose thing that's happening. So that takes the focus further off of Summer and puts it further on a person who came here willingly of their own free will. Jody is here. Nobody forced Jody to be on the internet. Nobody forced her to tell her version of what went on.
I
Nobody. So
I
you're on
have
here and you can critique everybody, but we're on here and we can't say a word because you lived next door to Summer? That's unacceptable.
well, it's
No,
ridiculous. It's the notion's ridiculous. But
it is.
so and the whole thing with the searching, like there can be things that are wrong with that.
For sure.
I was against anyone doing it, including chasing and whoever she went down there with. I was against that. But my whole thing is because like you take Kraken cases for instance as an example, and I'm not talking about their drama. I'm talking about what they went through when they actually went down there and conducted a search. They
I think you're
actually
right. If we put it on YouTube, if we went and put everything that we did up on YouTube and then tried to insinuate that there was something near Jody's property or we were near, Fields Road and we saw this, if we were Olivia or JLR,
well, what I'm
Kraken,
saying
any of
is
those types, it's dangerous, but we recorded it.
that's
A
not what I'm
person, A, had a body camera on. I just want that to be clear before you finish, Clara, because that narrative will immediately be spun. That, we
well
shouldn't
what
have searched. Go ahead. Go ahead. I
well
apologize. It's a
no,
touchy thing, but go ahead. I apologize.
all I'm saying is, obviously in theory, searching comes from a place of being helpful. No arguing that at all. But that unless you go through the proper channels and have someone there, like Kraken cases had private investigators that were hired to help find Summer, guide them,
We did.
and
Yeah.
right, and you guys did too. So
We had
there,
a person who was skilled in it with us. That's
that's
all.
right. That's not the same as going down there with your YouTube phone and
Mm-mm.
going live and poking a stick at things and going, "What's that?" and finding
Right.
animal
And
bones.
pretending we found
Oh
something.
my
Like, oh my
god!
God. No.
Yeah, look at these animal bones, but they could be a child's. Like that's crazy. That is
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. It was
So
alleged yesterday that we went and did all this and said we can never talk about it. But then anytime one of them's on a panel, that's all they talk about. People literally still have no idea what we did. There was no red truck, by the way. That was another alleged thing that we had an issue with the red truck. No, we never did. And you'll never know what we saw or didn't see. And any and everything that we did was documented and sent over in case they ever need it.
right,
And what is the point of even being upset about that? We're just trying to help. We're not on YouTube trying to do it. We all learned our lessons. We've all made mistakes. And some of the mistakes may have been critiquing Jody, who's another YouTuber, whether she believes she is or not, she
yeah,
is,
you're a
you know?
YouTuber, man. You should just
Yeah,
stop it.
if me and Granny get in a fight and go back and forth, am I wrong because Granny, why? What the fuck? She's just like me.
She
We're
doesn't
just two
believe she's a
people.
YouTuber?
No, she doesn't.
Okay.
No.
Didn't know
She's
that.
here to go after the tragedy pimps. And I don't know. I have no idea. She doesn't think that she is, but she is. She's
Well,
on here.
no,
She
one
started a
must think.
YouTube channel. She could have stayed on Facebook. She didn't. She came over here and involved herself in a marathon, involved herself with YouTubers, involved herself within the story. I mean, that just is what it is. What we can't make that any different. You did those things. Nobody
Right,
forced you to do it, Jody.
right.
Nobody. Shit.
That's all I'm pointing out. And I'm not, like I said, I'm not singling you out. You just happen to be in the chat. And but there are many others when it comes to the Summer Wells case that have done the exact same thing and are still doing it. And guess what it's done? Nothing good. Nothing good except create more drama that the TBI has publicly already stated 2 years ago that has been the biggest problem as to why they can't get any credible leads, because you people don't seem to understand that they don't care about your theories because your theories are not substantiated because you have no law enforcement or missing persons finder experience, none at all. So when you waste resources, and I mean very, very limited resources,
Very
okay? Hawkins County is not a rich town, and it's not very populated, and there's only so much water in that well.
Mhm.
So when you sit there and you make a phone call to the TBI spewing out your little harebrained theory
Share.
that has nothing to do with anything, and you're going to do is cause them, because they have to follow up on everything. So now TBI has to waste resources, very limited resources, on your stupid little theory so that you could tell yourself, I did something, when you didn't.
Thank you for all you do for summer. That's what you want to see in your comment section. That's what you want to see. Just tell the truth and shame the devil. Also, I think sometimes these people believe that they are cops and investigators. They've watched too much true crime on television and believe that they're a part of something.
Yep.
You're not. But the perpetuating the drama and lies and speculation around this case.
The lurker, that is a great question. That is my point exactly. What is YouTube doing for summer?
None.
Absolutely nothing.
But
It
Fred
has been
Hill, he's doing great. Yeah.
How
Fred Hill's-
can we argue this fact after 3 years almost at this point? How can we argue this fact? And this fact is YouTube has done nothing productive in finding Summer. Nothing other than sharing her picture.
Yeah.
Some of us have done that. When when that update came up, as far as her age progression came up, we all shared it. That's the best thing that we can do. It was all that we can do. And it pains me too. I wish I could do more. We all wish we could do more, but we can't. When you are realistic and you have some sense of common sense, you can understand that there's nothing beyond just sharing her information that you can do. There's nothing beyond that.
Well, look what just happened in the Riley Strain case, right? All these rumors about his shirt was found on a homeless man and, this and that. And then his body's found, unfortunately, wearing the shirt. That was all just rumors and bullshit that spread like wildfire because social media did it.
Kid fell over a railing. That's it. Fell over a railing.
Now they're like, a homeless man must have beat him up and stole his shirt. And, here's his credit card. And,
It's so dramatic. It's got to be the most dramatic outcome. It can't just be the simplest Occam's razor type situation where he might have had too much to drink. He's young, doesn't know how to hold his liquor too well, fell over a railing, hit his head, died. It's sad.
People don't want that. They want something bigger. They want it to be a mystery. When sometimes it is just that simple. Yeah.
Well, Kylie Rodney was a perfect example of that. It was unfortunately just that simple of a tragedy. But look what that led to.
Yep. I remember that too.
Right. YouTube suggested something to me overnight that I just felt like it was the bottom of the barrel of all this bullshit, which is why it's come to mind, which was a community post that Share, Voices Behind the Wall shared, where the people were claiming they could see the face of this missing little boy in the stepfather's arm.
Oh my
The
goodness.
shadows on the stepfather's arm, you could see that missing boy's face, and what did it all mean? And I was just like, oh, that's it. I've had enough internet for today.
Logging off.
It's disheartening. It's disheartening. You know, you see this and you're like, oh my God. Like, and it's just, it's going to be one case after the next. You know, it's going to be one case after the next. Like, it just doesn't matter. Like the next case that the most people are talking about and the least information is available, the more rumors are going to spread about that, and the worse chance that person is going to be of getting justice or being found.
And why is it always around a child? You notice it's always around a child mainly.
Right. Well, one of the reasons for that is because you're not going to get reports because that child is a minor.
Right.
So you're going to have less information, which gives you more space to speculate and spread rumors, create and spread rumors. So that's one of the
heartstrings.
Right. That's the other reason.
We also think because this is a sector that is predominantly females. That a lot of it is, you know, you're going to pull in that maternal instinct audience. Look at this missing baby. Look at the photograph. Look how awful the parents are. I'm sure you're a better parent than these awful parents. Look at this beautiful missing child. There's no coincidence in the fact that this is a female-dominated sector, and so much of the conversation is about missing children. Those two things interlock. It's an audience that's almost feeding itself, and I don't separate myself from that in any way. I am just as susceptible to the beautiful missing child. But I tell you now, being on the inside, just even fractionally, has changed my view on things. I now don't feel the same about true crime. I don't leap onto the next story. I just, it's unsettled me.
Well,
I don't know what to believe about anything anymore.
Never noticed it is always
ridiculous.
And it is always the good-looking children too. Honestly, it's always the what you picture the perfect, beautiful child to be. I feel that. I feel like they're the children that always get the headlines.
Always the blonde-haired, blue-eyed. Yeah, you can bet that's always going to be the ones. Yeah, Granny, you got 5 gifted memberships.
New account. Thank you so much. Thank you. If you got a membership, please thank New Account. I was just, you know what else cracks me up about it? It's not funny. I mean, it doesn't crack me up. But the irony of people saying how much they love Summer and they love this one. And I can name at least 7 supposed true crime creators that claim to love the children that are not very active in the room. And that drives me crazy. I mean, we can say that we've learned to care, we've come to care for this child, but you cannot imply that you love this child more than their own family and friends. And I've heard so much of Summer.
That bothers me too. I'm glad you mentioned that. That's a little over the top for me. Of course, you care, but to say that
it's way over the top.
Yeah.
Like look at the stuff that Robin and the people in Summer's church community get from these people who claim to love Summer. Like these people genuinely love Summer. These people spent time with her. They helped guide her. These are very Christian, very religious people who thought it was very important to, no matter what your following is, no matter what your religion is, but I'm saying it was important to them. And these people were spiritual guides to Summer. She was a child. And they took that very seriously. They really, really cared about her. And now they're getting harassed out of what? Jealousy because you're claiming that you love Summer and you think that they don't love her enough. What is wrong with you?
Well, and to bring it back, didn't Ziggy claim that the puppy she got from the Wells has Summer's eyes?
Girl,
I'm sorry. I know people are going to think that this is just about me hating on Ziggy. This is about how ridiculous this statement is. Say that one more time.
Say that one more time.
Ziggy stated that the puppy she received from the Wells has Summer's eyes.
So wait a minute,
Blair.
Let's break
hilarious.
this down.
Have you seen the puppy?
So Ziggy is telling me without telling me. Ziggy is telling me without telling me that the dog that she got from the Wells is a Frankenstein dog that was made post-mortem
They're
with
related.
the Summer Wells. Oh, I'm trying to figure out the logic
She
behind
acts like the dog and Summer were related.
Wow.
It's so bizarre.
It's what she says. Athena's got Summer's eyes. Her eyes are just like Summer's. Athena doesn't have two matching eyes. Not only are they not like Summer's, they're not like each other. The dog has eyes of two different colours and two different sizes.
Dude.
Now, God loved the dog. It's very cute, but it's just an inbred dog from a hill in Tennessee. There is no significance to Athena as a dog. The puppy was conceived after Summer disappeared. There is no connection whatsoever.
But to hear Ziggy tell it, oh my God, you guys, it's just so wild. She has Summer's eyes, guys.
Yeah.
Like, girl, stop saying that. Just stop.
Well, that's when you're in too deep into these cases. That's like there's this other creator who was removed for it that was totally obsessed with the Wasp case to the point that when his first grandchild was born, he kept relating it to Nico.
Are you serious?
No.
I kid you not. And then he came on camera wearing Chris Watts' jersey.
Oh my God.
I mean, totally.
Trying to imagine the people in Ziggy's chat who, when she says something like that, go, "Oh my God! Oh my God! She does have Summer's eyes. That's crazy."
Yeah.
Summer's always with us.
You've got to be an idiot. You've got to be an idiot. You have to know that you're an idiot.
Oh,
Like,
leave it to the glare not to mince words. You're an idiot.
You have to be. You have to. You can't even be you can't even be so stupid as to not realize that you're an idiot. You can't. Like, that's crazy to me that this is encouraged in some way.
And that's pulling on the heartstrings. It's pulling on the heartstrings and keeping them involved.
Yeah. Yep, you're right.
But how long are my heartstrings to where they get in the way of my brain?
That's why after
That's a good question. Why does every live that has Summer's name in it end up being, 500, 600, 700 people? Because people did grow. They feel like they know her, or I don't know.
They invested so much time into her case, and quite frankly, we were given such an open door to her personal life, right? I mean, we got to see her parents. So people feel like they genuinely invested into this, so they want to see it through. And unfortunately, they still, for whatever delusional reason, believe they're going to see it through these creators.
No, it's not going to happen.
Which is crazy. I mean,
my problem
I
with
hope that it
people's
does happen.
heartstrings is it seems to be.
Go ahead.
My problem with people's heartstrings, it seems to be too many of them have got the heartstrings caught around their neck and it's cutting off the oxygen to their brain. People get so emotionally invested in the stupidest things. And again, people are going to take this as a Ziggy thing, but I'm saying this about every single channel that does this. Tarot card readings about a missing child. Let's read Summer's cards. Please sit down.
Please.
I don't want to hear it. It's carnival sideshow to the extreme.
Summer?
If you believe in that, fine.
Yeah.
Go and do that. But these
Chasing.
constant readings about a missing child.
They're as bad as the spirit boxes.
The waving wires. Yeah. Ziggy has done all this around Summer's case chasing. She has wires, water wires that help you find water. She has cards.
Like the dude with the big wishbone stick that walks around looking for water on the ground.
Those
she
waving
asks
wires.
the dowsing to give its opinion.
What? I didn't know that. I had no idea. That's
I'm sorry, but yeah.
Yeah,
done. I quit.
And we're not making this up. You'll find it. There's plenty of videos out there.
The dowsing rods. That's what they're called.
Dowsing rods. Yep.
I mean, I knew there were cards read for other people surrounding the case or whatever, but I had no idea that cards were read in the name of, because to me, that's implying that she's passed away and
right.
who, I don't know.
That's why after Bones Gate, as I call it, wasn't it there around there, Pearl, that we started pulling away from her channel? Was it Bones? Because
Um,
I knew.
we
Bones
all
Gate.
side-eyed the Bones, but it was like, okay, in the heat of the moment, perhaps you got sucked in. But yes, so once the situation started coming up of the big deal about the dog, which was concurrent with the Bones thing, but developed more over the months. The dog is very cute. I'm glad the dog was rescued. The dog has no significance just because it was born on Ben Hill. Um,
Right, which makes me just think that she took the dog in for
For
crazy
clout.
content.
Right.
Right.
Well,
For
I
insane
mean, you think about it. She's gotten her puppy off of Ben Hill. She's gotten her YouTube channel off of Summer Wells, the puppy off of
Mhm.
Summer Wells, and now she got her boyfriend who wears size extra large underwear off of Summer Wells. Like
I'm
these are
dead.
things that like you are too deeply in these cases when this becomes your entire identity offline and on.
To
Yeah.
just do silly stuff, that's one thing. But to have a person who's alleging that these babies had bugs and this and that and were abused and talking personal information as if you know, that's harmful. And it was harmful in this case.
It
It really
was.
was. It made people despise them with more of a passion than they already did. And that takes away from the case. That's not what that's not how any of this is supposed to work. If you think you're a true crime person, it's just horrible. Why would anybody do that?
I mean, you can go as far as to say it changed the direction of the discussions as well. Because the focus was no longer about the 5-year-old little girl that was missing, but the horrendous conditions in which she was disappeared from. And then
Yeah.
the focus became, then the allegations of the SA and the abuse, and oh, Summer's hair was shaved because they had the bugs that woman said they had, and oh, then it was shaved to make her look like a boy because this way the brothers would stop. I mean, the amount of speculation and rumors that
Well,
originated.
Candace did say that though. Candace did say that she shaved Summer's heads because she wanted to look like her brothers.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, that's a lot different
Yeah.
wanting to look like your brothers than to stop your brothers from wanting to
Right.
Yeah.
achieve
Yeah.
their goals.
I mean, just because you're a slob doesn't mean that you're an abusive child trafficking child murderer. You know what I mean? Like it's
I mean, honestly,
yeah.
we saw so many photos of them out doing activities with the kids that it drove me nuts that even those were dissected to mean anything other than what it was. Call them lazy parents, call them filth, call them, all the things they are, but it doesn't mean that they were these horrible, abusive parents. It doesn't.
agreed. Agreed. I mean, I
But
see
in
indication.
this phone call, it went a stage further, in that Erica A, whatever you want to call her, the person on the phone call, that was obviously Lolita, actually said that the older brother had violent tendencies, and that's why
Yes.
he was separated off and
Mhm.
wasn't in foster care with the two younger ones. These are really dangerous things. These things were trotted out as if spoken by somebody who actually knew, and therefore these could be relied on in some sort of factual sense, and it can never be taken back.
Nope. Lily, this isn't sticking up for Don Wells. This is sticking up for Summer Wells, which is what the focus
Right.
should have been and remained from the beginning. This isn't
Yeah.
sticking up for Don.
I mean, I'll defend Don and Candace as far as like they don't have there's no evidence that they had anything to do with Summer's disappearance. Prove me wrong.
Right.
Show
They
me
haven't been arrested yet.
show me any evidence that indicates that they did something to Summer. I see nothing. I have seen nothing. It's been almost 3 years. That I'll defend them. But I will also hold them in part accountable for the fact that if we're
They
saying
don't
that
listen. Shit, they don't
the,
listen.
the
Get
the
off here.
muddying of the waters, they've contributed to it. They
Mhm.
have to know that all of these trolls are looking for anything that they say to be able to twist and feed some narrative that they're these horrible people. So it doesn't matter what they say. anything they say is going to be twisted by shitty people. And so what happens is whenever they go and try to clear things up, because they go on these YouTube channels with the mindset of, okay, I need to clear the air. That's what they always do. We need to clear the air. But then what happens is they're just giving more fuel to these trolls to be able to destroy their image that much more.
Can I answer
I think that's
Stevie? Can I answer
it's a
Stevie real
pattern,
quick?
yeah. Go ahead.
Stevie S. So the jerks were with Ziggy through the bone situations, with or subscribed. We were subscribed
We
to
watched
her
the channel.
channel.
I wasn't even a mod. I wasn't even
Yeah.
a mod at that stage. I was just a random person who watched the channel. So the idea of being with a channel is just bizarre to me. It's like I was no more with Ziggy at that time than anybody else who clicked in and viewed.
Yeah, it's the same as anybody else. It's like you're kind of trying to add another element of the relation. There was no relationship. It's just
And why is that even an issue? Like, every single person in here has done the same thing. You're going to tell me, especially those of you who are all about the drama, you're going to tell me that you didn't follow a channel and then they went and did something crazy or said something stupid that made you go, you know what? Not following them anymore. And then you decided not to, you realized that they were something that they were not.
right.
You were misled.
It
Happens
happens
all the time. So
Yeah.
just what? Because Pearl once subscribed to Ziggy and then
Right,
caught on
Stevie.
to what Ziggy does, and then all of a sudden is like, well, I don't like Ziggy anymore. For some reason, that's suspicious. That's weird. No, all of you do it. We all do it. All of us.
Yeah.
Every single one of
I
you.
see what Stevie was asking though, like just a subscriber. Right. You were trying to understand the timeline, but people will go with that. Like they'll act like we were on that wherever she was
Like
when
you were
Bones
part
happened.
of it. Right.
Yeah.
Like you were a
When
direct
we
candidate.
heard those clips 2 days ago and put two and two together, when Tanga came to us and said, guys, listen to this clip that somebody's re-uploaded. Doesn't this sound like Lolita doing an accent? And within a couple of words, we all spotted it. It was so obviously her. We knew then that if we discussed this, we're going to get a lot of flack because people are just going to say we're doing it because it involved Ziggy, or we're doing it because it involved Lolita. It would have been easy for us to look the other way and let somebody else, possibly months down the line,
Figure it out.
discuss this instead. And during that time, we would have sat there quietly knowing all these lives were being put out again because this conversation had been re-uploaded about these boys. So we covered it. And there's no winning either way. We were going to get flack whatever we decided to do. But we did the thing where people were able to realise that this conversation being re-uploaded was bullshit and not to believe it. And I stand by that.
Ernie Sunset. I remember that. And I remember you. I know there's a feeling of shame that comes with when you are subscribed to some of these channels and then they do something stupid like Bones. And you're like, oh God, you get secondhand embarrassment.
That's what did it for me too. I mean, I didn't have anything against Ziggy at the time. I didn't know enough about her, but that was the big red flag that made me go, okay, she's part of the problem.
And I think
just
that
never
we
paid
don't
any
learn.
attention to her again. I never paid any attention to her again after that.
But there are some people who will complain about this glare and what PVJ just put up there. Now that this newer case, the people are doing the exact same thing. And you would think that you've seen so many hundreds of people in the Summer Wells case saying, oh my God, they ruined her case. They ruined her case. This is awful. She's lost in it. Exactly the same people who constantly say this shit are doing this to Sebastian's parents, Sebastian's family, the people around. It's exactly the same thing all over again because they've learned if we do this and we have that villain that we can all focus on and hate, it's going to bring views in. If we're able to twist this in a way that it looks like it could be something nefarious, and it may be, but we don't know that. So we're taking all of this information, unlike what responsible people do, and putting out these fucking theories and bullshit, and it hurts the people. You can see, if you look at his mom's face, could they have done something? Who the hell knows? We don't know. Law
Right.
enforcement, I'm sure, is going to figure it out, but it's the same people who complain. And it's the same people who take one word, they'll take a sentence of whatever the Glare said if they hate him, and say, oh, yep, he was up there with his sidekick Tracy. You know, she loves him. She defends everything that I can't believe the jerks and Granny allowed them to be up on the panel.
Yeah.
They always have so much to say. They're fake. They'll use that because they know it's going to bring in views. They'll twist any word that you say to make sure that they're going to get content. And it's sickening and it's gross, but the chat will be filled with the same people who are saying all of this is wrong.
You're
It's
so
so
right
wrong.
about that. That will happen.
Yes.
And I'll watch it later on today. It will happen somewhere. Watch what I tell you.
Absolutely, it will.
Yep.
I'm already waiting.
Can I
They're going to be
respond
like,
directly
see,
to
it
a
was about
comment in the
Summer.
chat?
And yeah, and Chasing and Glara and the jerks and Granny attacked Jody. Did you see what they did? It wasn't about Summer. They attacked
Come on up,
her.
Jody. Although we never liked you, come on up and share your experience.
Like what's funny is I genuinely don't care.
No, you
like,
don't. You have to get like that. You have to.
I am
Miss
simply
Peacock
up here discussing what my feelings are of where the Summer Wells case is. And if Jason can attest to this, this is all I ever do when I talk about Summer. This is all I ever do. It's the same conversation every time. I can't help but, if I'm going to contribute something, I have to put in my 2 cents and say, from an outside perspective, you all are fucking crazy who continue to perpetuate this shit. Like, you're not helping Summer.
Nope. And Miss Peacock just said that Summer matters over her loser parents. If her loser, quote unquote, parents are guilty, you're right. You're right. But if they're not, you're wrong because you're helping push that narrative. Does that make any sense to people?
Right.
If they've truly lost their daughter and spiraled way further out of control than they were prior, because we do know that CPS was involved prior and didn't take those children, and CPS could have failed them. They could have, sure. But allegedly, CPS had been up there many times. If they didn't see the things that creators now want us to see, then they failed over and over and over again. That's not, too far out of the realm. Maybe they did. Maybe they suck in Tennessee in that area. But we don't know that. So CPS goes up there. They don't see anything. All we objectively had to look at the time Summer went missing were their Facebook pages, right? Before they came online. You see a billion pictures of Candace taking these kids everywhere. Everybody's smiling. Sure, they're dirty and they're not clean little kids, but who cares? And people use that to immediately take pictures of Summer offline and say she was holding her private parts.
Ugh.
Spun that narrative, took it, put it on their YouTube channels, exploited this little girl in a sexual manner. I don't give a fuck who agrees. They absolutely did that to her.
Yeah.
And acted like everybody knew. And then they were justified when the sister and the niece came out. Then that was spun and used for content. Then a creator who's former law enforcement spun that into the ground until the point of we thought Dawn was going to prison for sure.
And flip-flop,
look at the
by
things
the
that
way.
have happened.
Let me say something real quick for people that think that they're blocked, because this happened last night in our chat. There seems to be sort of a glitch on YouTube where the chat is running weird and it looks like you've made a comment. I think that's YouTube.
Yeah, it's got something to, I mean, it's Google, so it's Chrome.
Yeah.
Like, I had a problem last night. I couldn't share video files. I had to force quit and delete Chrome and re-download it.
Oh, damn.
So that I could, so I couldn't play my intro or anything last night. I could only share like internet stuff off of the internet.
Right.
So
it happens when YouTube is doing their updates, and then Chrome, I know, updated to use a lot of AI because I had to reinstall it myself for work stuff. So
Right.
maybe that's the glitch. I don't know.
Yeah, now there's an option for AI stuff on Chrome, which is weird, but I don't.
Yeah,
I
it
don't
is.
know.
I didn't install it, but it installed. I was like, oh, well, okay. Okay,
Great.
I said no. I already have
That's
my AI stuff, thanks.
not at
But
all comforting at all. No, I'm not
no.
thrilled about that. Um, but yeah, like I mean, here's the thing: it's people like those of you who are so adamant about Don and Wells being these horrible people. Those of you who jump to the conclusion that someone's guilty before having any evidence whatsoever, or convince yourself that something is evidence when it's really not evidence. Wouldn't you rather be wrong about someone's innocence than wrong about their guilt? Wouldn't you rather that? I would rather, I would sleep much
I
better at
would.
night knowing that I had nothing to do with an innocent person's name being tarnished. I would feel so much better about myself.
Yeah, and
So
what did
therefore, I
I
don't feel
lose as a human? What does Glare lose as a human being on YouTube if
right.
we say innocent until proven guilty? We lose nothing. What do
Right.
you
There's a
lose?
reason
You're
why
You
our
losing part of your
definitely
friggin'
don't lose your
soul.
credibility like a lot of these people have. A lot of people have lost their credibility.
Yeah, they're calling people child R.
Yep.
You know, you're saying these people essentially murdered their kid. You're saying these things like, how do you look in the mirror at yourself and you're okay with yourself? How do you do that? How do you say that a dad R'd his child without you knowing for sure? How do you put out that these babies had mites and bugs and all of these things on them without knowing these things for a fact? This
right.
isn't entertainment. It's a real person.
Right. Yeah, that's the thing is I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna go ahead and just say what I'm thinking. And if you're one of those people who do this, you're not looking at these victims like they're real people. You're acting like you're treating these people as though they're fictional characters in a Lifetime movie, and it's wrong. It's not okay. It's not okay.
100% agree with you, Clara. And she's been treated that way. She's been treated as like this little fairy princess who came out of a book of the wickedest people on earth. And they've all adopted Summer into their minds because she needed to be saved from these terrible people. And they hate the Wells so much now for what they did to her. How do you know what they did to her? You don't even know what the fuck you're talking about.
Well,
You
what do they
literally
do
don't
with
even know. And this foster fuck face lady contributed to that. Like, you don't even know.
and what are
And
they
you
doing
hate
with the
them.
children in their yards that are living the same lifestyle? I mean, this is all over. There are children that are being raised in a poor environment where they might, if they're lucky, have a mattress on the floor. Or they might be laying on a cot for all you know. Doesn't mean they're
People don't
not
care
loved.
about them.
No,
No,
they don't. And then there's just this
they don't care.
narrative that if you're poor and you don't have, the princess bed and the cute beds and, a separate room for each child, that you are a neglectful parent. That just simply is not true. People struggle every day. Being poor doesn't mean you don't love your kids.
Right.
People are saying, well, they were negligent. How do you know what they were? You know
Right.
nothing for a fact. You don't
Yeah.
know that.
I mean,
You
I'd
can
love to
say their
know.
house was dirty and
I'd
that
love to know they
Summer,
were negligent.
whatever. Yeah,
I'd love
look
to
at the
know.
videos right before she went missing.
So
The
here,
slip and
anybody who's
slide, the
claiming
dancing.
Amanda Wolf, show
Gosh.
me in the CPS report that says that they were negligent specifically, and give me a specific reason they were negligent. Show me in the CPS report. You can't, because you don't have access to it. It's not available. So you don't get to go around saying that they were negligent. You don't know the circumstances as to why those boys were taken from the Wells home. Nobody knows the circumstances in which CPS decided that those boys are better off somewhere else and that home is not suitable for them. There could be there's an infinite amount of possibilities as to why they took the children from that home.
And it makes sense.
You don't know what it is.
Think about that, Glare. It really does make sense. CPS was involved prior. Nobody was removed. The boys,
Right.
the kid, nobody, as far as we know. Okay. After they spiral, you know, what, 90 some odd percent of missing. Oh, I think I'm gone.
No,
No,
you're
you're
here.
there.
You cut out.
Oh, a
Yeah, you
call
just cut
came
out
in.
for a second.
Sorry. I mean, you can't blame if they spiraled and the drinking got worse, drugs got worse, everything got worse.
Thank you, Granny, for having us up today.
I keep
I
getting
really
a call. I gotta hop
appreciate it.
down. I'll be right back.
Well, what's funny is McDumbas's tour of the house, like he flip-flopped. Because at first he was like, oh, I don't see anything wrong with these parents, blah, blah, blah. But then when he saw the narrative and he saw that there was money to be made from hating on them, well, then that's where he flipped. But nobody wants to see that. Nobody wants to look past and follow the money. Nobody wants to look at that. And you would benefit very well if you started to look at how much somebody covers a case and how much money is being tossed at them via memberships and super chats and what is being said when they cover the case. You can absolutely, I'm not saying judge them, but you can apply that to your opinion. And everybody wants to say, oh, well, Chris McDonough, you know, well, he's an ex-cop, so whatever he says is golden, it's gospel. No, because so far here he is spinning a narrative that Don and Candace Wells did something to Summer, but yet he hasn't given a sound theory. He hasn't given he hasn't shared any evidence that has led him to this opinion. He hasn't done anything. So he's just using the fact that he happens to have donned a badge at some point, and now people are just like, well, he's an ex-cop, so you know he must be telling the truth. Well, no, he's a YouTuber. That's it.
Yeah, well, and he's a YouTuber that showed access to this highly hated parents' property. You know, I mean, look at how people treat the Wells. Maybe, you know, for all we know, I don't know, but the boys could have been removed for that alone.
Right. I mean, right. Again, we don't know why the like it was like Chasey said. Chasey said that the house was already there was already a CPS case that was already active before Summer even went missing. So it could be that it had nothing to do with Summer going missing. It could have it could be that the house being in disarray was a drop in the bucket as to the reasons why they removed the children from the home. You know what I mean? We have no idea really as to why CPS. We have until we look at those reports, until we see those reports, which we'll never get to do, by the way. But until we get to see those reports, we don't get to speculate responsibly. We cannot. It's impossible to speculate responsibly as to why those children were removed from that home.
That's right. But people don't like that because the speculation creates the hate bond that the creator wants to take place to keep the chat active. They're easy to hate.
Yeah, I hold Tracy Ann saying a CM helped ruin this case.
Mhm.
I hold him almost directly responsible. Like if I were to hold one YouTuber responsible, it would be him. It would be him. If I were to hold one, I can't hold one, but if I were to, if you told me to name one YouTuber, I'd be like Chris McDonough. Absolutely, 100%.
Right, because he started the essay of the sisters and promised them that he would get them justice, and Don's still out here free.
Right, and capitalized off of his law enforcement experience in order to sell his credibility, to make whatever he says more credible.
Mm-hmm.
That's
and
why
he exploited not only Summer, but even Don's sister in that situation.
Totally. No, nobody has brought anything to the table that could be proven, that can be that could be applied to Summer's disappearance. Nobody's done any of these things. Chris McDonough going and interviewing this 15-year-old, whether he had his mother's consent or not, was irresponsible. That was a 15-year-old kid. He should have never talked to that kid and put him on camera and interviewed him, but nobody cared. Nobody cared. but him as former law enforcement should have known better. But nobody saw through that. See, people look at it like, oh, well, he's former law enforcement, so that gives him all this credibility. It's like, no, wait a minute. The way we should be looking at it is he's former law enforcement, so we should be holding him to a higher standard than we do these other YouTubers. But nobody wants to see it that way.
Right. And let's be honest, if Betty or JLR or one of them, Dolly, had held that interview, people would be screaming it from the rooftops. What are you doing interviewing a minor?
Right. Exactly. Totally. Yeah. everybody would be tearing him apart for even engaging Hunter.
Right.
I mean, Dolly did the same thing. Look at all the shit Dolly got. And rightfully
That's
so.
right.
Dolly should have gotten all the shit for it. But my point is Chris McDonough should have gotten worse for what he did.
Absolutely, because he has the credentials and he should have known better. But
Absolutely.
look at what's that one guy's name from News Nation? Oh my goodness, he's gone live every day about Madeline Soto, the blonde-haired guy.
Enton?
No, it's not Etten. It's I got to see now.
I don't know. I haven't been following it.
Somebody in chat will know, but he has literally been live every single day. Vinny, thank you.
Vinny Politan?
Vinny Politan, yes.
Yeah, I'm trying to like Vinny because of another case that I'm following, but I have not really been following him too much. I know he's got a YouTube channel. I was in one of his lives, but he was talking about a case that I'm not following, so I didn't really stay.
Yeah, I like him, but he absolutely has been live every single day about Madeline Soto. There's no new information. And what gets me the most is as they're live, they're like, oh, we got 400 over here on Facebook, 4,000 over here on YouTube. Hit the thumbs up, subscribe, smash it. And it's like they're just selling it,
Yeah, that's every single one of these. Like, I mean, like I watch. I'll watch Dateline or I'll watch one of these ID channel specials, and they're good for information. But I also laugh at them, because I see the show. You know what I mean?
It's a show.
Like,
that's what it is.
I still see the show. Like when you have this correspondent who sits there and he'll start to discuss. He'll give some detail. Like there's every single one of them do this. They'll say, well, the phone rang, and as soon as she answered it, the killer was on the other line. So there's there's this dramatic pause, and it's just to make you go, oh my God. So when I see this, when I see things like that, I laugh. But I also have enough empathy to where if I know that somebody that they're talking about is dead and they were a real person, I'm going to go, oh my God, that's terrible, because I understand that it's terrible. Right. But I'm still going to laugh at the idiot who's selling it like it's, like it's a Lifetime movie of the week. It's ridiculous.
I did have a question too, because somebody said in the chat, and that's why I hopped back up here. I wasn't going to. Don admitted that he essayed his sisters.
I saw that.
45 years ago, when he was a
child himself.
Child himself. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to know more of what the chat thinks about that. I don't know if you can do a poll, but do you think the victimology is the same with a 58-year-old man and a 4 or 5-year-old child that you do with a 7-year-old and a 12-year-old? Is that the same to you? Even a 9-year-old and a 17-year-old, is that the same as a grown man who's in his late 50s and a 4-year-old, 5-year-old? Is that the same? And do you understand victimology?
Right. Let me put it simply. Let me be the crude asshole that I always am anyway, since everyone, assumes I'm going to be. Let's say you parents out there, you have a 10 and an 8-year-old, and you catch the 10-year-old being overly inappropriate with the 8-year-old. Are you going to go and have your 10-year-old put on the registry? Are you going to assume that they're a child killer? Are you going to jump to these conclusions that you're jumping to with Don Wells? I mean,
Great question. Great question. I mean, I remember my two little neighbors. I'm not going to say their names, but they were one was a neighbor and one was my downstairs neighbor. And my mother got them in the hall, two boys doing very inappropriate things to each other.
Yep.
And I was shocked. You know, I was a little older and I'm like, Mom, you know, these two are doing this in the hallway. And she later, we talked about it. I'm like, do you remember that when they did that? And she said, you know, Tracy, kids are very curious and they do a lot of this stuff that they shouldn't do. They're discovering their parts and what feels good to them.
Very
and
normal.
I'm like, oh,
it's
yeah,
actually
I was
very normal.
Shocked.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is. And I mean, the way that Dawn describes it is gross.
We don't like it. Yeah,
no,
we don't
it's
like
disgusting the way he talks about it. Like, oh, she touched mine and I touched hers. Okay, we didn't need to hear that. But
right.
Is that the same as R-ing your child, your baby, your little? Think about the size of a teenage boy and a preteen girl, or even a 12-year-old and a 6-year-old. Think
Sorry,
a
Amanda.
5-year-old. Very different than a grown old man who's been with women his whole life and a baby girl. That's very different.
Extremely different.
What's normal is experiment, and kids do experiment. Kids, rather you realize they're doing it or not, they do it. I mean, it doesn't make it right, and it doesn't make the way he spoke about it right. But truly, in his mind, for whatever reason, he still didn't see, likely because of circle of abuse.
No, normal does not mean right. Like, it's normal for a kid a klepto.
I'm just trying to understand if people.
It's normal for a kid to be fascinated with fire for a spurt of time in their childhood. It's normal.
Yes, but it depends how far that obsession goes. That we're talking about two different things. I feel like what's normal is for kids to look at each other and be curious about what does your penis look like at 7 years old, right? That's normal. Yeah. Okay, guys. I don't want to like set this conversation like normal is this 12-year-old putting his penis inside of someone that's 5. That's not normal at all.
No,
that was never alleged either. Right. That was not the allegation.
That was what his sister alleged, is that he would get in her bed. Yes, she did.
She said he pulled down her pants and put his hands, his fingers.
It's horrific.
It's awful.
Horrific. Yeah.
Okay, then I guess it's different. I don't know. I just think to say
it's still awful. You're right.
It's different because he was a child at the time versus. It's different because he was a child at the time versus him being accused of doing something to his daughter as a middle-aged grown man. It's very different.
That's kind of my question. I'm not saying what he did with his sisters is right in any way. I'm saying, is the comparison the same? That's all I was asking.
No, I'm saying it's normal because it's normal for children to explore. It's normal for children to be curious.
12 and 5.
You're right.
It does happen.
I'm saying that is not normal.
No.
You can't normalize that kind of behavior.
You're misunderstanding what I'm saying. You're acting like I'm saying encourage it. It's okay. Like, no, I'm saying it happens so often that it is irresponsible and ignorant to say that it's not normal for children to do this. What I'm saying is, of course, if you catch it,
it is not irresponsible to say it's normal. It's not normal.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
But you said it's irresponsible to say it's not normal.
You're trying to pick an argument with me, and I'm not going to oblige you. What I'm saying.
Okay, you know what? I think. Hey, Brandy, thanks for having me up. I think I'm just getting probably too triggered by this conversation, or not triggered. That's the wrong word. That's overused. I think I'm getting too emotional around this conversation. I just think like people saying this stuff. We're talking about it so flippantly, and it's a huge deal that happens. It scars people for life.
I went through it. Amanda, I totally understand what you're saying.
Well,
I went through it. I am a victim myself.
I know. So it's hard for me to right now. I'm shaking, and it's because just hearing people say that there's some sense of any sense of normal around this, or that we're even comparing things like this is better than this.
I think because it was
better
the reason I brought it up.
Nobody's saying it's better. Nobody's saying that.
Okay, I'm using the wrong words then. I'm not trying to pick a fight.
It's okay.
Never mind. I think I'm just not being able to speak right now because, like I said, I think
it's upsetting.
It is upsetting.
Probably. I back to the whole conversation before. What I was saying, where I was trying to go with this previously when I was in the chat saying stuff, what happened with Ziggy is incorrect. That should never happen. That's so wrong. There's no yes about that. There's no, well, she should have, nothing. Completely 100% wrong if that, with what happened there. If that's 100% true. I think what I see a lot of is like, then we flip to the other side and say, well, the parents we should have never been so hard on them. I think there's a middle ground. I think they can still not be murderers. And I think they can still be some pretty bad parents.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that
I don't think they were great parents.
I think that's overall part of the conversation. Don obviously did not have great parents growing up, and it's a generational curse that took place, right?
Agreed. And so the more we coddle people, it happens again. But we have to, at some point, we have to ask for people to step up. We can't just keep saying, well, this happened and this happened. Some of us have made it out of things, right?
Absolutely. But it also takes these tough discussions for that to take place.
Exactly. And I think when we call them, what happens?
Yeah. I think in the beginning of this conversation, when it was brought up, it was all of this damaging to the case? Was it damaging to the parents? So that was one part of it. And the only reason I brought up the other part of it is because it was being said in the chat that, well, it's not like they were good parents. Don admitted what he did to his sisters. So my question was, are those two things the same? Not that one is good and one is bad, or both are bad or both are good. It was just, but are those the same things? I think we're not seeing the forest for the trees. Are they the same? And would it make him a predator of children as an adult if everything that was said about his sisters is the truth?
Right.
I mean, I think it's disgusting on every single level. Unacceptable. Absolutely horrible. But I do
think, does it make a 12-year-old a predator is the question.
And we don't know the mentality of him at 12 years old. Look at the mentality of him as an adult.
Right.
And I think people need to actually look into things further before jumping to a judgment on somebody you don't know and you've never met. And I think that's one of the biggest problems that this community has. Right. You know, if you look into COCSA, which is what we're talking about, it actually gives a lot of information, and that, you know, both children in that circumstance should receive treatment and help and support, not just the victim, because both children need it. And, you know, obviously neither children got anything. So we can't, you know, I don't like accusing people of anything and jumping to conclusions when we don't know what actually happened. We don't know the whole truth. If any of it's the truth, to be fair, we don't know.
And what we saw was a former law enforcement officer, law enforcement person perpetuating this over and over. And it turned from Summer's case to the case about what Don did 45 years ago. Whether right, wrong, or indifferent, that should have been handled off of here. If he is guilty of those charges, he should have been brought down there, summoned down there, and taken to task for what he did. But it was all spun into a new story of this man is a predator of children and he's going to prison. And where's Summer in all of that? That was my point. Where is she? She's lost now because there's this new narrative of what's going to happen to Dawn. And people followed that, thousands and thousands of people in the chat at a time, just tearing these people to shreds. That Candace should have known that he was essaying Summer because he did this to his sisters 45 years ago. And it was awful. And it wasn't right because it still hasn't been proven. And then they declined to pick up the damn charges. And there's no commentary on that now. What happened? Did it make so much money that we don't need to talk about it anymore? Those were victims, weren't they? Why isn't anybody interested in that?
Right.
It just kind of died off and went away.
People wanted to go away though, Tracy, if I remember right. People wanted
Absolutely.
people to stop talking about it. It shouldn't be out in the public. And that goes away, and then we're not happy with that. It feels like, like,
Well,
I don't
true. You're
know.
right. Yeah.
But it was
I'm
never
glad for
about
one that it
that.
went away, but he created victims, right? They were victims long before Chris came along, but then they became public victims who were taken advantage of in a way. Yes, they wanted to tell their
They were
stories and they had every
exploited.
right to,
Yeah, they were
but
exploited.
yeah, you got thousands upon thousands of people leading the charge of let's get them justice. And then what? Number one, the story's about Summer. If you're going to solve a cold case, do that. Please get them justice. Put Don Wells in prison if you can prove that he did this. But what the
But I
hell
don't think
happened?
it
Where's
was.
Summer's story? Where did it go in all of that?
It was never about that. It was about causing hatred towards Don. It was about
Absolutely.
perpetuating that issue.
You said it much
Never
better
about
than I
any
could have.
victim.
Yep.
Right.
I think that's our human nature, though, right? We want to figure out why things happen and who the bad guy is. That's just our own human nature. We want to protect ourselves from bad people. And so I think it's just our human nature, probably in a little way, to say we want to figure out who did this and why, because it's happening to children, which is like, we never want to believe that can happen, not only to our children, to any children. It shouldn't happen ever. And so I think it brings even more of a heightened want to place blame or to figure out who the bad guy is.
Sure.
I think that's
And
probably happened. You see with every case, look what's happening with Sebastian Rogers right now.
Exactly. And it's
It's the
so
exact same thing.
irresponsible and an
I think
open
it's
and
just going to keep
active.
happening, unfortunately.
Well,
Yeah,
and a
it's an
better
open and active
example.
investigation. You can't do that. You can't take
Right.
the eyes off of what's happening to go back 45 years. And in Sebastian's case, yes, his stepdad has an open case of custody. We don't know all the details to that, but people are spinning it. Somebody said the little girl, there's a restraining order. He can never see his little daughter. What? Why are people spreading this misinformation? But it will persist, and people will believe that yes, he was abusive. He's too strict. He probably now it goes to he probably was so strict that he harmed him in some way. He convinced the mother to get rid of him. It's just awful. It's awful what happens. This is an
Pointer lover,
open case.
Pointer lover, are you lost? Because we established the fact that Don was a minor himself. And we're asking the question, does that make him a predator if the allegations
Yes.
for his actions took place when he was a minor himself? That's the question.
That's the question.
Nobody's
Very
normalizing
clearly.
it. Nobody's
Right.
justifying
So
it.
are
Nobody's
you
encouraging
lost?
it.
Let's make it clear for the final time. My question is whether Don admitted it or not, whether he did it or not, whether it's all true. He was 16, she was 9. He did it. Let's say that that is absolutely fact. He did that. Is that the same thing as growing up, having children, getting married, having jobs, all of these things? You end up having this life with Candace and you have a new baby. Are you now a child rapist? Because of what you did 45 years ago, that's proven as fact. We're assuming
no,
that.
but
Are
we know
you
what kind,
now
but we're also
that
assuming
type of
he's
person?
not. We don't know either way, I think. Has he gotten
We
help? Does
don't
anybody
know.
know? Has he gone to counseling? Does anybody know? Has his
That's my
lifestyle
whole
changed at
point.
all?
I
That's
love
my
that you
whole
brought
point.
that up. I
But does
love
it
that
also
you
show that he's done other things from future? He has not always been gentle or kind with women in his past.
I love that you made that point, because now you're spinning off into other things that are unrelated. You're saying we don't know that he didn't do those things. Exactly, because that is why our justice system is designed to keep someone innocent until proven guilty, because you cannot just make these assumptions about someone. You cannot base justice on whether or not somebody could have done something. Doesn't work that way.
Exactly.
No.
Agreed. So I think we have to be careful both ways, though, right? We can't say he never did it or he did it. I think we just have to look at everything that has happened and say this has happened. These are not good signs. And
But what we can't do is put that
and
on
that doesn't
Summer
mean the
Wells'
murder. I didn't say
head.
that.
Where you let
We
law
can't put that on
enforcement.
That's
Summer,
the
though.
person closest to him, right? Chasing?
That's That's
Say
where
it
you
one more
went
time.
wrong.
That's one of the closest. How many, what are the statistics of children when they go missing or something happens to them?
Oh yeah,
Who
definitely.
usually
It's
does it to
usually the
them?
parents or
Right.
somebody
So
close, for sure.
it's not stupid to look at the parents and then look at their backgrounds and
Mm-mm,
say, this does just not look good. I don't
for
mean, doesn't
sure.
mean they did it, but I can say this doesn't look good based on what
Oh, there have been
the things we have
so many
seen.
things. There's so many
Right.
things. But
Right. So
I don't
I
come
think it's
out
not out
here.
of bounds for people to say that, to think maybe to
No.
look at them, because parents are usually involved, right? Look at them
Hmm.
first. And when you start looking at it, it does not look good. And when I said negligence plays a part, I think it does. How often were they drunk, high? You hear lots of stories. They were posting it themselves. They admit it themselves.
For sure.
That is
I agree.
negligent. That's what I mean by negligent. If I am, it doesn't matter if I'm a drug addict, I'm still being negligent to my children.
Hmm.
And I have to
Hmm.
own up
But
to that when whatever happens. It is
Yeah, I agree.
negligent.
Why are we
but
here
there
though?
does come a
Why
point where you
why
have to
are
be
we
careful what you're saying without saying I think or I believe and making it
Sure.
seem like it's an absolute accusation and that it's fact. Because
Hmm.
Right.
people
Well,
put
do you
out
believe
things
it's
that
a
aren't
fact you're being
fact and they
negligent?
believe it.
Do you
Sorry?
Well,
believe you're
okay?
being, do you believe it's a fact that you're being negligent if you are under the, taking care of children and under the, um,
influence
influence, thank you, of drugs and alcohol?
depends. Depends.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
it
I mean,
depends. I think it depends.
I've gone to
Yeah.
plenty of football parties when I was younger where my parents were drinking. Were they neglectful?
For sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's a limit, right?
Well,
I
that's like
can get
one
back
time though.
tonight.
I think these people were doing it often and they were also bringing around people into that neighborhood that were not good. People were getting
Right.
invited up on that hill all the time, like without
Allegedly, we
any
don't
vetting,
know.
without,
We
Right.
okay,
don't know
so
that.
even, okay, but wait, Jose went up there and stayed. They didn't know him from Adam.
Nope, they didn't. You're right.
Yep.
You are
You
right.
know, like that is just, to me, that is irresponsible.
Agreed.
Didn't
Sure,
say
I
that
agree.
but I'm just
come
saying,
on.
like when you look at all these things, where does that take? I don't think it's,
It
I don't know.
hasn't taken them to guilty in a
Okay,
courtroom.
no. I love exactly. Okay.
There's a little
Before I
delay, Glara, just so you know. That's why it feels like
so
y'all are talking over, but you're not.
let me ask you this: why are we all talking about Don Wells? What is the crux reason why? Summer, right? Summer's the
disappeared.
answer. Summer disappeared. Okay. Now you tell me how any of that has connected to any evidence that Summer, that Don or Candace has anything to do with Summer's disappearance.
I get it, but they're not going to tell us that either. Nobody's going to come out and say, we have this phone call, we have this, we have this.
Why are we talking about what kind of parents they are? If that's
Because
the case.
what I just said, Blair. Did you hear what I just said? Where do we look first when a child goes missing?
Yeah, but that's
Who
not.
usually does it?
Yeah, but you cannot base every theory on that. That is totally irresponsible.
You know what? The
It's
perfect
not
example of that,
wrong.
Amanda,
Because
the
if you're
perfect
wrong,
example.
what if your kid goes missing? What if your kid goes missing and then the whole world, the whole YouTube world goes, "Oh my God, this person, who's the first person they look at? We got to look at her because the first person that we're supposed to look at is the parent, and you're totally innocent." Wouldn't you rather the rest of us go, "Hey, wait a minute. Wait a minute. We don't have any proof. If we're wrong about this, this is a parent who is suffering more than anybody at the fact that their child is missing." Excuse me. This is a person who is affected the most. So the other side to the coin of, well, they're the first suspects, typically, statistically, the other side of that coin is that person is suffering and they are suffering and they are affected negatively the most out of this entire situation. So wouldn't it make more sense to find the empathy for them rather than find reasons to condemn them based on a statistic?
Yeah, because no amount of us hating them or saying over and over and over again, they're neglectful, they're neglectful. Well, how is that helping Summer? It's not.
Right.
Go
I
put
agree,
her
and I'm not
posters
saying that, and
up,
I don't think
create
we
a
should do that.
channel, get her information out there, do it over and over. Come to Summer's Day, help spread awareness, come up with ideas for Summer's Day. How can we
And I'm
do
not
this
picking
better?
on you.
What can we do?
I'm not picking on you. I'm saying I'm picking on that logic because I hear that logic all the time. I hear that justification all the time.
No,
So you're not the
I'm
only.
not trying to make a justification. What I'm saying is that's how cops would investigate as well. People
For
just
sure.
using logic. All I'm saying is we're using a little bit of logic to start, right? A kid goes missing. I think it's like over 90% of the time the parents are responsible.
Yep.
It's some ridiculous statistic, you guys. Like, so the
It's huge.
outlier would be, right. So the outlier would be that they didn't do it. So I don't think it's unrealistic to start looking at the parents, right? I didn't say you have to say this, that, or the other, but if the goal is to find her, we're not going to find her, first of all. So maybe
Right.
but that's what people do. People want to look at these things and understand them. That's our human nature. Why are people so obsessed with true crime? Because they want to understand it, because they think if they understand it, it won't happen to them, maybe.
Yeah.
Sure.
That's
Sure.
what we're
I
most
think-
scared of, is a crime happening to us. Or God forbid,
I
our
think the
biggest
way-
fear, our children.
Gray Hughes looks at it as he believes that there was an accident at the home and Candace had to cover it up and nobody else is the wiser. That's his theory. And I think Gray is probably one of the smartest guys that I know when it comes to true crime. So I always take that theory into account, right? But that
Sure.
didn't stop me from having an open mind when I met Candace face to face. And she is difficult to dislike. She is a very personable, kind of almost shyish, silly, very young-minded, maybe, person who you look at her and you don't want to believe that. You don't want to believe it. And that doesn't mean that I can't believe it because I don't want to believe it, but I'm saying, yes, she's very hateable on here. Yes, the times you've seen her drunk and the times you've seen all of this, you don't like her. But when you have a personal conversation with her, or you look at her face to face, your perspective becomes a little different. And that's why
I
I
completely
ask
agree.
people
It's
for a
so
little,
different.
yeah, just a little empathy, because no matter how much we hate the parents or throw false accusations at them, it isn't helping Summer. Tangible things help her. What can be done if you care so much about the case? Not you in general, but anybody.
Right.
If they care, what are you doing other than spreading hate in chats? That's the question. What are you doing?
Or misguiding the conversation from Summer back to Don Wells.
Exactly what happened in the chat. And I'm like, what?
And Occam's
What?
razor doesn't always work. You know how many kids are kidnapped? You know how many kids?
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, look at Athena Strand, right? Everybody was so quick. The stepmother sent her to the trailer in the backyard. She was arguing with her. She was only, 8 years old. And everybody right away thought, without a doubt, that Athena's
They
mother,
attacked her.
yes, that the stepmother, including myself, thought she had to be guilty. It was the UPS guy. So just because you assumed they were the last to see Summer, you don't know that. Look what's taking place over in that state. Children are disappearing every day. Doesn't mean they're about.
I mean, you can apply Occam's razor, but you can apply Occam's razor when it comes to speculating. But I mean, Occam's razor is just a tool, but you can't base your entire opinion on Occam's razor, just like you can't base your entire opinion on the statistic that it's normally the parent or normally the spouse. You can't base it on that. Like you can absolutely apply that to your method of speculation for sure. It's a useful tool. Of course, statistics are always useful tools, but you cannot base everything on that. Like if you take the fact, let's take the one fact, because this let me just explain how my mind works when it comes to the Wells. Sure, I take that into consideration. It's one of the first things, like everybody else, one of the first things I take into consideration, that the parents or whoever was last with her is most likely the one responsible. I apply that, but I also apply the fact that it's been almost 3 years and I've seen these people jump on every YouTube channel, spouting, being loud, talking, drunk, everything, and never once have they slipped up with anything that is incriminating to them as far as what could have happened to Summer. Nothing.
True.
Nothing.
And
So
people
do
have
you think they
reported
really
them
say
in
that, Claire? Do you think
private.
they really come up there and say, yeah, I did it? Oh, she's in the tree. Oh, she's in the ground. Oh, I don't think they're going to come up there and even admit anything.
His point is that when you're shit-faced, sometimes shit comes out.
I think that'd be the thing you bury the furthest. Like, I would never, even if you're drinking or whatever, people don't always admit to, you know what I mean? Like, then you would get everybody.
Do you have no faith in our FBI and our justice system? Do you have no faith in our law enforcement?
See how you're
Me?
oversimplifying
Yeah.
it, though? See how you're oversimplifying it, though? You're saying they wouldn't admit to it. I'm not saying that they would admit to it. I'm saying it's unlikely that they would have. It's just as unlikely that somebody else outside of the inner circle would be responsible. It's just as unlikely that after all this time that they wouldn't have slipped somehow. Something that was incriminating. I'm not saying an admission. I'm not saying a detail. I'm saying something that could be applied to connect them to exactly what happened to Summer. And that has not happened.
Online or off.
So I'm saying in this case, we don't get to go by statistics. We don't get to go by likelihoods. We don't get to go by anything other than the facts. We are forced by the fact that there is nothing to go by. We are forced to keep our hands tied. The responsible thing to do is to let law enforcement handle this, nothing else. And especially if law enforcement publicly said what you guys are doing on social media is irresponsible and making it harder for us to do our job. So if that's the case, then I morally, ethically have to just step back and go, let the professionals handle this because we have no answers.
And we shouldn't have answers because it's not our job.
Exactly.
It's not, and Summer's been lost. And I think that's the whole point. The CPS call, we lost Summer. The
Yes.
foster people, we lost Summer. The Bones, we lost Summer. Chris McDonough, the sisters, we lost Summer. And people can lie all they want to themselves and say, but it was to help Summer's case. No, it isn't. It's to watch something that takes us out of our own day-to-day bullshit. Because there's no way in the world you believe all of this stuff as a whole. Okay? There's no way. There's no way that people are in these chats believing the most, what was it? Rats the size of cats or something like that, right? And people just ran with it. You know, to this day, I see that same shit said. Nobody ever saw rats the size of cats on their property, but it persists to this day. Nobody saw those boys with chigger marks on their arms or welts on their legs or welts on their arms. I mean, half of the time the kids are in bathing suits in all of these photos. Do you see bruising or welts or healing welts or... No, you don't. Well, but Summer's head was shaved. Okay. And her head was shaved. She's in the picture. She's smiling, but she was holding her private parts. That definitely means she was sexually abused. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Stop losing her in your theories, in your mind, and what you want to apply to it. Stop doing that because it's not fair to her.
Exactly. Tracy Ann, let me ask you this question. If it were to come out tomorrow as fact, proof that the Wells spanked their children, right? If that became fact, right? How do you think that would affect the narrative of them being responsible for Summer's disappearance?
100 times worse than it already is.
100 times worse. Now, how many
Yet these same people spank their children.
Exactly my point. Exactly my point. How many people in this chat spank their kids? I don't expect you to answer that. That's none of my business. That's none of anybody else's business. How you raise your kids is your business. What I'm saying is, because you spank your children does not necessarily make you a murderer. It is a very common form of discipline, but it does not.
And if we all talk about our childhoods, we were beaten probably. You know, it's very different. You know, and they look at Sebastian's stepdad. He's way too strict. He's too old school. He was probably beating him. Why? Because he told him, if you don't clean your room after I tell you the first time, I'm going to pick up the stuff and throw it in the trash. That's what my husband's theory on life is too. And he was beaten, you know?
How many times as a child that has literally happened where all of me and my sister's stuff would be in trash bags because we refused to clean the room. I mean, that doesn't make abuse. There's no guideline to how you should parent. And again, being poor and living in a rundown house, you got to look at the people are equating how they live and you know what they do to judging how others live. Right. There's different, I don't know. It's like people are so simple minded, they can't fathom that people live differently in different parts of the world.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Well,
it just loses her, and it's really sad. And that's my only point of all of it, is we keep losing her in the rumors and the gossip and our thirst to have a villain.
Yes.
And if you just take that one thing, if you just look with a critical eye, no matter what you think of any of these cases, watch carefully and listen to your creator. Is there a villain? Well, then you know this is probably being spun. If immediately there's a villain that you must focus on and they have to talk about this person, and there's no evidence to prove that the person's guilty, but there's a villain, it pulls you in. It's a YouTube trick. It's a trick.
And also,
and it works.
Also, Chasey, is also the interpretation of what is actually evidence is extremely it's an extreme problem here in this community. Like, people think that hearsay is evidence. People don't understand the difference between evidence and hearsay, evidence and rumor. They don't understand the difference.
The Wells would be in jail if the two were the same. Jail, under the jail.
Yeah, they would have been convicted, probably got the death penalty. Yeah.
Well, and part of the problem is what initially brought us here today. You have somebody who intentionally brought up a friend, a moderator, to pose as somebody who knows the Wells personally and knew the boys and their CPS and foster situation. And it all started off as spearheaded a campaign, and it was a fallacy. And you have people to this day doing that. Just a month ago, oh, look at these 1 centimeter pictures. They show SA, they show abuse. You had people zooming in and pointing out these bruises and this and that. So and believe it or not, as creators, we can do that. I can set the tone for a stream.
Totally.
They do it.
Yeah.
You know? And that is exactly what has been done along the way. You have these people that have played on your emotions. They have played on the fact that we are speaking of children. They have painted the perfect picture of neglect to get you so angry that you are arguing in a chat right now about these parents. And guess what name you haven't written out? None of you have written out Summer's name this whole time. I've seen Don, I've seen Candace, I've seen CM. I've not seen one of you mention Summer's name. Not one.
I'm going to jump in and say I'm jumping down. Thank you for having me up.
Thank you, Delicate.
I just would like everyone to consider, just trying a little bit harder to do the best thing for these cases and for these children, because they deserve better than what we're doing at the moment.
Agreed.
I agree.
Thank you. Take care. Bye.
Thank you. No, that's the problem, Mrs. Peacock. You were so angry at Don and Candace that despite every awesome conversation that's taken place here today, that is what you were determined to take from it.
Yeah, nobody wants to protect them. Gosh.
Right. Yeah.
Put them motherfuckers under the jail. Put them under.
Nobody here said anything in defense of Don and Candace.
No.
Now, I will defend anyone if you're saying something that is unsubstantiated or untrue, even if I don't like them, because I am an objective person, because I think critically. I take pride in that. So if you're going to sit up here and say, well, Don killed Summer and disposed of her body and tried to cover it up, or there was an accident and Candace covered it up and Don knows about it and blah, 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 I'm going to say, okay, where did you get this information from? Okay, well, what did the information say? What is the nature of this information? Where's the document that says so? I'm going to challenge you. That doesn't mean that I'm defending them as people. That means I'm challenging you to convince me of a fact.
Yes. Yeah, it doesn't have to be that we're having an argument or we love Don and Candace or, none of that makes even sense. But that's how people look at it. Like Miss Peacock, I've seen her a million times critiquing.
And I adore her.
Oh, it's too much.
Well,
it doesn't mean any of that. It doesn't. It's questions. It's critical thinking. That's all I'm trying to do.
I get the dislike of Don and Candace. I get it.
I share it. I understand it completely.
I understand it, but I am not going to call them child murderers until I have proof.
Right.
Period.
Neglectful, pieces of shit, all those things. Sure. Yes, absolutely. Different cultures, ways of living. That's, yeah. There was something written up here. Where'd it go? Their names, because there's already so much that. Oh, with Mrs. Peacock, unfortunately, you have gotten so wrapped up in the image that people wanted to create the distraction, and that's why you were so angry, and I get it. But again, I see people saying like, oh, he showered with his kids, and he did this, he did that, right? But who's putting the spin on it, right? Why are you looking at it that way?
Right. I mean, a lot of parents will bathe with their kids. I knew a mom who did this, and I was like, that's weird when I was younger. And then I had kids of my own and hung out with other parents, even though I still thought it was weird.
Right.
It wasn't weird to me anymore when I saw so many other people doing it. I was like, okay, well, I guess it's not weird. I'm not doing it, but I guess it's not weird. I didn't bathe with anybody when I was a kid.
No, but I
So
remember I used to share the bath water. I would bathe, and then my sister would get in. We would share bath water, not necessarily. Or actually, I have bathed with my sister as a kid, but and then that's what it was. Somebody said, "What about the fact that the barrel that said for sale?" I have a video of my son doing one of the Fortnite dances next to firewood for sale. You know what I mean? So if I mean, there's a lot of barrels out in that way that say for sale.
right.
No, Mrs. Peacock, I'm
I
just
don't
asking you
even
to open your
understand
mind.
that.
That's all.
Oh
When
my
you're that
gosh.
broke, as a matter of fact, like I live out in the sticks. We were looking for a barrel just like that so we could burn cardboard because our garbage only comes so often. We only have this one big garbage can, and we have to use the garbage can provided to us by the city. We can't just go out and buy a garbage can. So we have a burn barrel. And if I would have at the time saw that sign going by their house, I would have been like, how much you want for that barrel? You know what I mean? Like, it's not crazy that they had a for sale painted on their rain barrel. I mean,
No,
it's not crazy at all.
it's really not. But
It's not suspicious.
when you add everything else in, can it become suspicious? And if you're led to believe in that direction, does it look suspicious? Absolutely. I get why people see it so suspicious. But then again, we are analyzing every aspect of their lives. And until you've had your life
In the worst
analyzed,
time.
right, in the most tragic
Yeah.
time of their lives, it's just, you know,
Innocent.
being YouTubers, we've all had a moment where somebody takes something and twists as a part of our life to look so horrific.
Oof.
And it's like, man, it wasn't
And
really
do we
like that.
like that?
No, that's
No.
what I'm
It's
saying.
horrible. I mean, it's horrible. If
But it
anybody
needs to be done.
could put themselves in their shoes, well, I would never do that. Do what? You still don't even know what they did or didn't do. So, gosh.
Proud of her for taking like a champ. I didn't hear him say that. I think that's absolutely horrific if he said that. But I didn't hear that. Where was that stated at? Did
How
Don
do
say
you
that
put
on
a
a
spin
panel?
on Don
Yes,
saying
he
he's not
absolutely said that. He said that what he was talking about in the context, let's keep the context, even though it was still disgusting, that she was hard and she
Good
didn't
God.
run all over the place spreading it to everybody,
Oh,
like she kept
Okay.
it, she didn't what I think what he was trying to do was compare it to his sisters,
oh.
Now let me
which
ask you
is
this.
insane.
Let me
But
ask you this. Whoever asked that question, let me ask you this. Am I spinning it if I ask you the question, the same question that Chasing asked earlier, more than once? How does that apply to what happened to Summer?
it doesn't, but it
Right.
just shows that he's
How
right.
does that get us closer to what happened to Summer? That's the
Well, one
question.
time he said that one of Allie's kids had a killer body, and all these boys were following her around, and that made him. He said, she's out here, she's too developed for her age, basically, is what he was saying, and that all these boys were, he was judging her, basically saying she's going to end up in a situation because of how she's
Wow.
built and running around with these boys. Mm-hmm. But
that's
what does that have to do with Summer?
right.
You know, if I say, Granny, God, I saw your daughter. There's no way she looks 12. Like, her body is ridiculous. That's crazy that you're letting her hang out with boys. Does that mean that I am a
Think the
predator
Granny's
of your
watching?
daughter's body?
Right.
Matter of fact, I did have YouTubers say just that because they passed around a
Oh.
photo of my minor in a bathing suit and they turned into it a whole thing.
Interesting.
Does that mean that Granny's watching should be ostracized as a neglectful parent and blame her if something happened to her by one of those older boys?
Yeah, you shouldn't have been wearing those short shorts.
Right.
Absolutely
You know.
not. That's
Ugh.
absolutely not. That's sick. That's permeating a culture that is around that. I think when people look at that, it shows his mentality or how he thinks about things. When he said she just took it,
I
it
agree.
kind of lets people look into a little bit how he might think of these things instead of saying, "I'm going to kill the son of a bitch who did that to her."
Right.
You know, like he did.
No, I
That
get
wasn't
that.
it. It was
Especially
so.
when
I
you
think
add his
people.
history in.
What was the context?
So people look at the mentality, though. They look at the mentality. It's just looking at the mentality. And like I said, that doesn't mean he did anything this summer.
And what was the context when he said that? Like, what was what?
I don't care what the context is. You should never say to a victim, let alone your daughter that's a victim of that.
I agree, but context matters because I think Dawn thinks he was trying to prove a fucking point and he just came out sounding disgusting.
Right. I don't know if that's the case. That's why I'm asking the question.
Right, but he still said she should keep her mouth shut, or she kept her mouth shut.
But
basically,
I mean, I've also
that kind of infers to me that that's probably what he would hope that people would do.
I've also heard Don say things that were completely outlandish just to piss people off because he's like, well, the whole world thinks
that's his daughter.
Yeah.
The whole world thinks
that's not just being outlandish to be outlandish. You're speaking about your daughter.
I'm not saying it's okay. What I'm saying is if we're applying it, because I'm still of the mindset of how does this apply to Summer? So
because then that shows his mentality towards sex and how it affects when sexual acts are permeated against people, against their will. How maybe it might show what his mentality is. I'm not saying it is. I'm not trying to be argumentative. I'm just putting the point out there that that's what people look at it as, possibly.
It might show. What I'm saying, though, is, again, the context matters. He could have just been saying it just to be an asshole. You know what I mean? Maybe he said it out of frustration. I'm not saying that that's what happened because I don't know. I didn't hear him say it. What I'm saying is I look at all of these things. I look at not only the thing, but what's surrounding it as well. That's what I look at if I'm going to start analyzing what someone said. See what I'm saying?
I understand that, but I completely agree with Amanda on this part that, I mean, they're just not normal words of a normal person.
No, I'm not saying it's okay that he said that. I think it's ridiculous. And if he did say that just to be an asshole, well, then it was a stupid way to try to prove that people are, and lash out against the people who are talking crap about you. I agree with that. What I'm saying is it doesn't necessarily mean that he is capable of the type of things that those words implied that he is. Does that make sense?
I get what you're saying. It doesn't mean that he did something to Summer overall.
That's all I'm saying. It doesn't mean that he did say anything to Summer overall. It doesn't even necessarily mean that he feels the way he does, that he feels the same way as the words that he said. It doesn't even necessarily mean that that's his opinion. Well, that's why I'm asking for context. And I'm not saying that I didn't hear the context. I'm saying I have to consider all of those things. When you give me something, no matter how outlandish something somebody says is, I have to consider all of the possibilities as to why it was said, when it was said, what it was in response to. All kinds of different factors have to come into play if I am considering whether or not it applies to what happened to Summer. That's all I'm saying.
Right. And it makes sense, but I do have to say, if Don is this big, predator that has been shown to be, I would hope he'd be arrested for it. If he has 9 victims and he's openly saying these things, I mean, it's despicable.
Sure. And
where's the court case? What happened to the court case? They declined to take the damn thing.
When Don went to jail, I was like, well, that's what happens when you're on probation. You're driving around with a gun and you're drunk. Like, that's what happens. I didn't defend him in any way, shape, or form. I sent him money, but I did it just to piss off all of these people who are like, oh my God, Don is a child killer with no evidence. You know, I did it just to troll them. Again, now, could I have been giving money to a child murderer? Possibly. Could have happened. But the thing is I didn't do it to give money to a child murderer. I did it to give money to somebody and perform a kind act that I knew would piss people off. That was my motive for doing it. So it doesn't mean that I support a child murderer. It means that I like to piss people off who jump to conclusions.
Which is why you're offering that grace to Don. I see what you're saying.
I brought them cleaning supplies, but people said their house was filthy. People are mad about that. They're pissed that that happened. Why? They should clean the house, shouldn't they? The fuck?
Oh my God! You're helping support the nest of a child predator, and oh God, it's so stupid. Like, and it's on a mass level. Like, it's so bizarre that nobody seems to have just this one instinct to just go, wait a minute, there's way too, maybe I'm weird because I see too many people thinking the same way. And I have to ask, well, how did everyone come to this conclusion? Well, wait a minute. They came to this conclusion because the last person came to that conclusion and the last person and the last person. That's not enough for me to come to that conclusion. I have questions. That's what Chasing does. That's what Dietz does. That's what every other YouTube creator that I respect who cover cases does. That's what Gray does. That's what every other YouTube creator that, or even subscriber that follows a case does that I respect. They ask questions, no matter how disturbing the questions might be, no matter how much those questions might piss off masses. They're still going to ask those questions because they want to get to the truth, and nothing's going to sway them from their pursuit to getting to the truth. So you and I are very different. I'm not saying anybody on this panel. I'm saying you in general and I are very different if you ask questions because you're worried about how you're going to fit into a chat versus getting to the truth, no matter how you are ostracized possibly from a chat.
And that's fair. That's fair. See, Kate says here, Don was not saying it's not a big deal. He was asking if it's normal to monetize the issues publicly. That's interesting. The topic this is how panels go, Michelle. It actually, the topic has still been and remained to be summer. It's the chat. You guys keep bringing it back to this. They said you sound like a criminal. Listen, the fact of the matter is so many rumors have gone on when it comes to Summer's case. There are a few handful of creators that have set forth this narrative and have put these ideas out there to lead to this conversation. If you want to be angry at those who set it forth. Be angry at those.
I just want people to have an open mind. That's all.
Right.
Right. I mean, they're like, can we get back to how Ziggy died? Okay, but or lied. Sorry,
lied.
Isn't it about Summer? What Ziggy did was about Summer Wells, and now her case is lost in this shit.
Is Ziggy not just a drop in the bucket as far as the problem goes, as far as Summer goes? Like, so, yeah, I mean, sure, we could talk about Ziggy, but I'm not here to talk about Ziggy in particular. The panel was open, and the reason I thought everybody was talking was because everyone had a problem with Ziggy and how she's approaching the Summer Wells case.
Right.
You see how people would rather just sit and bash Ziggy and what Ziggy did than come to the crux of what happened in 2.5 years about Summer Wells? It isn't just Ziggy. Yes, it's Ziggy, but not just Ziggy. You know, and she's lost every time.
Right.
And it's always about something else. And it's never about Summer herself. Where could she be? Critical thinking, putting it together, trying to understand it. It doesn't become about her. Or because we can't do that and the TBI hasn't given us enough information, how can you tangibly help the case? What are you doing? You're a sub, but that means you're a human being. Like, do you hang flyers where you are? Can you put her poster in your local gas station? You know, and what? Anything, blip boards. That idea had come up from, you know, other people on here. It really worked well. What? Instead of sitting and complaining, can we bash Ziggy? Sure, yeah, why not? But where's Summer, the person who's in the case that we're talking about?
Right. And I think part of the issue is the fact that it has become more about hate in other creators that are involved and what's deemed the Summer Wells community. And that's what it's developed into. And now you have all this infighting in this community, which is what's keeping it alive, but without the factor of Summer actually being the focal.
Yeah, and this was supposed to be about the Ziggy situation, which is 100% correct. So
that is true. I can play you guys the clip because we never did.
And I still don't even understand the whole thing, so I'm going to hop down and listen because I still don't get the whole damn thing. So
right.
Thanks for having me up.
Again, yeah, the last time I followed Ziggy was the whole thing with the bones. So I'm lost on the Ziggy. So I'm going to jump down too. But
thank you for coming up, guys.
But thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Of course. Are you still here, Amanda? Okay, I'll carry. I know what you meant, Laura. I know what you meant. I'll carry on, Amanda. If you're still here, just chime in at any time. The topic is, and it does remain around Summer's case, because my whole perspective towards it was, what damage did this do, and what outline or what road did it set for where Summer's case has transformed to, right? So if you know, we now know without a doubt that the initial, one of the biggest streams pertaining to information into Summer's disappearance was all fabricated, right? We know that. No, it all ties in together. I promise you, it all ties in together. It's what derailed Summer's justice, quite frankly. So we know, rather Ziggy claims that she was aware, claims that she knew it was her good moderator / friend that was helping her find a place to live, or not. Rather, she knows or knew it was or not. The fact is, we know without a doubt at this point that the person who went up on Ziggy's pretending to be an insider source into the foster parents and CPS case was fabricated. All of it. Every horrific detail given, every speculation put on the brothers of Summer, the speculations put on Summer, and the rumors of the parents and the horrible neglect that we were all led to believe being true was all fabricated. Was it simply fabricated by Lolita? Or did Ziggy know who she was speaking to? That is up for all of you to determine. I happen to believe, by the facts that I was presented with, that she was very much aware that Erica was not Erica, but her moderator and friend at the time, which was no other than Lolita. Some of you may remember her from Circle Jerks. Some of you may not. I personally didn't. No worries, Amanda. I appreciate you coming up, and I understand what you're saying. I didn't know that Don said that about his daughter, and that changes a lot of things for me personally. And believe it or not, Mrs. Peacock, some of us are victims ourselves. So to automatically say that we support Child SA is sickening. You don't know everybody here's history. You don't know what they've been through. And actually, I kind of thought you knew me a little better than that, but that's okay. So I'm going to play you all a video that I didn't play yet, that I didn't get to play yet, and show you exactly what I'm referring to. Now, you can find the original over on Tragedy Pimps Exposed channel, as well as the Jerks. But I think the easiest way to explain it right now would be using this video. Again, so these creators know this person. They were once channel holders with this person. They know her voice, they know her mannerisms, they know her interests, and they have connected far too many dots to deny that this person is this person. The only question left on the table, the only question that is left remaining on the table is if Ziggy was aware and in on this scheme that literally changed the entire course of the discussions of Summer's disappearance. Let me edit my thing to fix it. Sorry. Put me back. All right. Now this should work. It was no big deal to him. Yeah, and that's very telling. You know who else called their own daughter very hot? Sexualized their daughter? Trump. All right, so I'm going to play you this little video right here. So this video has no background music and uses minimum imagery because we want you to listen carefully to the voices. This was part of the initial insider source to the Foster family. This is how they were able to connect the dots that this is actually a person within this community, Lolita.
Somebody literally asked me if you were using the bathroom on live.
Who?
Yeah.
I'm laying in bed.
Now, the first thing I want you to keep in mind when you're hearing this is that these are two strangers. This is just a call-in to the channel. This is just somebody calling in. They've never met. They've never spoken before. Two strangers on a panel right now. One supposedly an insider, source. Okay.
No, you were running with some kind of water or something earlier. And I guess it's.
Oh, I was probably when I was rinsing my sink out.
Oh.
Because I had iced tea in a cup and I dumped it and I wanted to rinse it so it wouldn't be sticky. Because my cats go in the sink and they get paw prints all over. I'm not using the bathroom during a dawn.
Okay, thank you, Lana. I'll fix
They
that.
literally asked me if you were using the bathroom on live.
Who?
Yeah.
I'm laying in bed.
Okay, so I'm misunderstanding this. This is Lolita. This is Lolita right here. So that makes a big difference. Okay. All right, so this is Lolita. You hear Lolita's voice and everything. That changes things. That makes it even more obvious to me. So then, okay, let me go over to here then, because you heard that voice, right? And she talks about water running, and that's something apparently Lolita would do a lot when on panels. All right, that changes things for me. Okay. Let me get over here. Sorry, I didn't pull up Ziggy's actual video. I'm going to pull up the jerks again. Go over there. Oh, I'm sorry, May. Did I see something? I'm done then. Why were sex registries great? Please think of that. Yes, but Don's not on one, right? Is Don on a registry? And they don't have registries for minors, but I understand the sentiments. And you hear her doing the same on the video as the friend, right? Yes. I did not catch up on that either. Okay. So it changes things because now you're going to hear this voice of, yes. All right. There we go. Of her insider source coming up here.
I've titled this video, Look Who's Talking, as a way.
Why'd you stab my butt? Okay. All right. So Erica wanted to say something to you real quick. I was screaming for you. You didn't hear me. No, because I was listening to music.
Yeah. Do you understand why your mom has so many haters?
No.
Like, do you have any idea how fast she became YouTube famous?
Because of Summer?
Yeah, well, yeah, not just because of Summer, because a lot of people trust her. You can't hear me?
No, you're kind of quiet, but I'm trying to. I have you turned up all the way. Is there?
So you guys hear that voice? Does that sound like the last voice? I mean, completely. The water running.
I don't know why you're kind of quiet.
Yeah, it's weird.
Now, this here is supposed to be a stranger, somebody she doesn't know, somebody who just happened to click the link and come up to say, hey, I have insider information. She's going to allow this stranger who's so heavily involved, she wants to explain to Ziggy's child why Ziggy has a lot of haters.
There, that's better. That's much.
Okay, I had to move my mic. But okay, your mom became YouTube famous in a very short period of time.
All right, Mrs. Peacock, that's fucking dramatic.
Fair use, educational purposes, and this standing. Hear that with a he's dog.
And it's not just because she's covering Summer, it's because of her approach. And a lot of people trust her and they'll come to her with information that they might not necessarily go to on other channels. And you know, you're what, over 10,000 in 2 months?
I think I just hit about.
So you hear that, right? And the reason, did Ziggy just slip out Lolita? Did she? No, that was the jerks. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's not. I don't appreciate that. That's not right to me.
11, but I'm not famous.
11.
But
well, I mean, you're getting there pretty quick. You know, Benny's been on for how long, and I don't think he even gets to 1,000. But then
now again, this stranger who just has insider source because she lives where Summer lived, and her kid goes to school with the boys and whatever. She sure knows a lot when it comes to. That's what I thought. Delicate. Now I'm confused when it comes to the YouTube drama, right? Because your truth is not the truth, Mrs. Peacock, and you are insulting my truth when you are making these statements. I really thought better of you. So now, again, you heard that voice. That's Erica, the insider source, right? But I take you over to here, and you can't, without a doubt, say they're different people.
Oh, you were running with some kind of water or something earlier, and I guess like it's.
Oh, I was probably when I was rinsing my sink out.
Oh,
because I had iced tea in a cup and I dumped it and I wanted to rinse it so it wouldn't be sticky.
What do you guys think? You think it's the same voice? You think it's the same person? So again, as mentioned in the beginning of the stream, the jerks who had a personal relationship with Lolita, aka Lady CG, aka Erica, they know her mannerisms, they know her interests, which is she's always talking about the cats. She mentions an 11th Amendment. She is always running water. She can't stay still. But most importantly, what they picked up in here is a squeaky door that she allegedly always had while on panel. I forgot.
My cats go in the sink and they get paw prints all over. I use in the bathroom during a dawn.
First one's a recorded phone call played through StreamYard. The quality is lower, but we want to use a source people could find online. At this point, use whatever source you have.
Buy your payer, but those things are really, I know they end up being really expensive.
Yes.
I'd rather not
They're
do that,
convenient though, because
yeah.
sometimes, but they have warranties too. So if you get a car that turns out to.
So again, Ziggy was so close to Erica, to Lolita, to Lady CG, that they are speaking about buying a car. I mean, that's how far it goes. Thank you. Yes. And that's where I'm going to direct all of you. So if anybody is still confused, if I didn't do good enough, if emotions are too high based on what was, what the other discussions we had on the panel, I'm going to link you all over to the jerks. You can watch it in full detail where they know more personal details than I can give you. And just know that basically what we have is the begin and start. We're setting the entire tune to Summer Wells' case and disappearance was started off of a lie, a fallacy, a person coming up and posing as somebody who knows the Wells. The information she gave out was despicable. The claims that were made were outrageous, and they were taken at face value. The person was hosted over here on Ziggy's panel. Does Ziggy know? Does Ziggy not? I will leave that up to all of you to determine. What I do know is that it set the tone for where we're at today, to the discussions we had today. Some of them were heavy. A lot of you are upset. I understand it. I get where you're coming from. If we don't have these taboo topics, who will? Right? Some things on YouTube will be triggering. Some things on YouTube will be upsetting. Sometimes gray areas have to be touched. I hope anybody who was triggered by today's conversation knew to go ahead and exit out of the conversation. If you stayed, I appreciate you staying and giving your perspective. I am sorry for anybody who has been a victim of SA. I never, ever would support that. I don't support that. I understood the question that was being asked. Do we hold a child to the thought process of an adult? That was it. That was all the question was. Nobody was justifying it. Nobody was excusing it. I'll admit, I didn't know he said that later on, rather recently, whatever, about his daughter taken as a champ. I mean, fuck that. It's disgusting. I personally have nothing for Don Wells. What I have is empathy for Summer. And I will never, ever put SA on anybody's name because of the information around it. I will remain to pray at the end of the day that Summer Wells never went through that severity of abuse. And if you disagree with me because of that, then I am sorry. But I won't put that on that girl. No way. That's a good question, Pointer Lover. If one of the jerks are still in here, or if Tragedy's in here and could answer that, I don't know how old the call is. I'd assume it's about 2 years old. If it has to do with, renting a car and this and that, but I don't know, Pointer Lover, to be honest, I have no idea. I don't know why that's so hard for people to understand, Kraken. So a friend, Lady CG, aka Lolita, who's been on panel, also played an anonymous source, and neither Ziggy nor Lady CG thought people would know they were the same. Am I understand that correctly? Yes, just for you. Because I don't know if at that point she was on panels with Ziggy prior to being called the alleged guest. I don't know. But for whatever reason, yes, they did not think people would pick up on it. Provide substance, trap them into submit, and what they did to SW, it didn't work because they did nothing to their daughter. Over self-admitted saying, then okay. No, you would think if somebody was admitting to SA, they'd be arrested, but what do I know? Well, stop putting SA on Summer. It's wrong. That's it. That's all I was trying to get to. Yes, just for you. And throughout all this time, a lot of old streams have been revisited, but for some reason that one was never touched again. Is it because they knew at this point Lolita's voice was too far out there that people would recognize it, and they were just hoping it was a stream of the past, and that people would never go back and listen again to hear that voice and connect the dots? I don't know. I don't know how much Ziggy was aware. I know she said last night she was unaware and that she didn't have to answer for any of it. I happen to disagree. She was a mod for Ziggy at this time. They sound very similar. Yes, that is what we are saying. And again, the jerks did a better job because they personally know Lolita to connect the dots for you. Here, Cry Closet, let me link them for you. Since this video is up, I'll share this one. But if you go over to this channel and you go ahead and you click into their live stream from last night, they do a better job of breaking it all down. I'm sure I'm not doing as good of a job, but I want people to remember this, despite the fact it led the way for the discussion. And as far as other things go, do you guys know, like somebody just came forth recently saying they are a victim of Stephen Stearns? People will do weird shit to get YouTube recognition. They will absolutely do that. Don't believe everything you hear. Look for the facts. Look for the evidence. It's 2024. Words are no longer enough. We owe it to these cases to do our own due diligence and not take everything at face value. I agree, Delicate Titanium. And my biggest thing was, if a CPS worker came to me and said, I have insider information to the Madeline Soto case. I'm using Madeline because she's the most recent and I'm very passionate about it because I stand against child SA. I stand against pedophilia. But if somebody landed in my fucking email saying that, I would get their information. I'd report them for betraying their duty and their trust to protect that child and their personal information. I would never, ever host it. I want to repeat it. And I certainly want to keep their identity a secret from all of you. If you see something, say something. And on that note, I will leave you all to have a good day. If you haven't, please hit the thumbs up. And hopefully I will see you all back here tomorrow. I get it, Mrs. Peacock. I've always adored you. I just wish you would have known me better. That's all. We stand against it. Absolutely. It did. And then it just helped derail Summer's case again and led it down a particular path, right? If it threw the flames to the already lit pitchforks and increased the hate, but most importantly, it timestamps. It is forever on the internet that these boys, these innocent victims of a crime, these children whose whole lives were flipped upside down by no doing of their own, were labeled these horrific things with these horrific rumors put on their name. And it will never go away. It's not gone 3 years from now. It's not going to be gone 5 years from now or 10 years from now. They may see it. Their classmates may see it. Their future, who knows? Co-workers, or perhaps their own future children. And that was willingly and knowingly put on the internet for clicks and views and money. It was fabricated, every last bit of it. A fabrication of somebody's sick imagination. Because you have to be a sick son of a bitch to come up with this shit that was put on those children's names that night.